What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Good to see everybody here. Nice turnout already. Got 100 plus watching, guys. That's awesome. Welcome to the stream. Got a really fun one for you guys today. I think you're really going to enjoy this stream. This is not something I don't think I've ever done on the channel, at least in a live format. What we're going to do today, if you're not aware, is we are going to practice landing techniques and different and learn the different nuances about landing all three of the aircraft separately. I'm doing this in preparation for my own real-life currency check that I have to go in. So if you've been following along, I haven't flown a real Airbus since March. And the FAA requires you have to have 3 takeoffs and landings every 90 days. And with the coronavirus and leave, all this stuff, it got kind of crazy. So I have to go back in the simulator tomorrow to maintain my currency, and I'm going to be asked to perform a couple tasks on the aircraft, so that's why I figured why not just do a little warm-up stream with you guys here right now. So we are going to fly the 319, the 321, and the 320. Now, the real test in the simulator for me tomorrow is going to be in the 320, so we're going to fly the 320 last on today's stream. We're going to start off in the 19, then we're going to head over to the 321, and then, like I said, we'll finish with the 19. We will also do 1 day landing, 1 day crosswind landing, and 1 night crosswind landing in each of the 3 airframes. If we have time, we'll do an RTO. I'll do a rejected takeoff. Now, I'm not being quizzed on single engine procedures tomorrow, so I'm not going to do any V1 cuts for you today, but if we do have time, we will talk about an RTO or maybe bulk landing procedures and things like that. So I hope you guys are ready to learn something. I just got a shout out. I remember somebody pointed me in the direction to a Reddit thread of somebody who watched one of my videos and was like, is this guy really a pilot? And there was a bunch of comments, and I got a kick out of it, reading all the comments on Reddit and seeing what everybody had to say. And it was funny, one guy actually posted, and he couldn't have been more correct. He responded by saying, it's just, maybe he wants to relax a little bit and fly the sim. It's not necessarily real life. Swappy! $1 bomb, thank you so much. She says, hope you and your family well. Excited for the stream. I am too, man. We are good. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for the support, Swappy. Appreciate it. So after he read that, I read that comment. I was like, yeah, it's true. There are streams, guys, as much as I love teaching on this channel, there are streams where I just kind of want to get on and enjoy the simulator and have fun with you guys and talk to you guys. So this stream, however, is not going to be like that. We are going to be by the book as possible. I've got a lot of stuff that I want to cover for you guys. I know you guys have asked some really good questions about systems on the aircraft and different takeoff modes and things like that. So we're really going to dive into that today. I even have notes for you guys to take notes. So by the end of today's stream, I hope you will have most of your questions answered and be ready and confident to land your aircraft, whatever it is, the 19, the 20, or the 21, in any condition that you are presented with in X-Plane. So, Slam Cannon says, as much as I love the more lighthearted streams, these real-world procedure streams are my favorite. You bet, Slam Cannon. I know a lot of you guys come here for this, and this is what I'm here for. So I know there's one other thing I wanted to say. We're completely cold and dark. We're not going to be cold and dark for all the other airplanes, but one thing I wanted to say is there are questions that you guys ask sometimes during a stream where I will intentionally respond vaguely and just kind of, maybe I even preface my answer with saying, for X-plane purposes, blah, blah, blah. And the reason for that being is sometimes the questions that you guys ask, which are absolutely fantastic questions, for you to fully understand the answer that I want to give, you would have to have significant knowledge of underlying subsystems in the aircraft logic, which I'm not saying that you don't know it, but it would be kind of a waste of breath and a waste of time for me to give you a fully detailed answer just to leave you more confused than you already were. So that's why sometimes I shy away from answering some questions in length. Today, however, I really am going to try hard to give you exactly what you're looking for. So I hope you guys are ready to fire away. Gavin Cornell coming in with a private pilot membership. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Exclamation point welcome. If you want any more information about your new perks, hopefully you know some. I will be releasing the podcast for last month, was it June, hopefully tonight or tomorrow. I didn't get an FAQ section in there, guys. I apologize. This month has been crazy, but I will get that podcast out for you here in the next day or so. So Gavin, thank you. Welcome to the channel, my friend. Phantom 320, what's going on, man? Good to have you in the chat. Definitely says sim environment in level D does not feel the same as the actual thing. The environment makes a huge difference, and it's easy to make mistakes and skip things in this sim. It's just a different environment. You can't be more correct, dude. When I sit down and I've got a beer or bourbon or whatever it is here in the X-Plane, I'm just having fun, right? And then when you go to the simulator for real, like go down to the sim center, and it's a totally different environment. At that point, it's no longer about having fun and enjoying the airplane and being passionate about aviation. It's about protecting your career, protecting your livelihood for your family and so forth, and protecting the lives of those that you're going to be flying around in real life. So different environments, different outcomes. Enough of that. Let's get this show on the road, guys. Jeremy, what's going on, man? He says, I know they always tell you to look to the end of the runway when you flare, but what does that do for you? Why do they tell you to do that? Jeremy, I'm going to get to that question once we get a little bit further on. I will have it answered for you, I promise. Also, Jeremy, thank you so much for the special music. I'm going to kind of keep it as a secret until we have that 10K sub special stream. It is fantastic. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Mrs. Jungles, welcome to the stream, Mrs. Jungles. I'm going to add you as a mod because Mrs. Jungles and Mr. Jungley and I go way back. So Mrs. Jungles, glad to have you on here. And let's go ahead and get this show on the road, guys. Enough of me chit-chatting. I hope you guys are ready to learn something. We are going to do one cold and dark and taxi out by the book. So we're going to start here in the 319, and then we're going to be hot in the 321 on the runway, and then hot in the 320. So first thing, we get down to the aircraft. We have to... Of course, oh, you know what? I didn't bind. I'm going to do a quick bind here. I am running just kind of a beta test version for the 319. It's a 1.01, I believe, or 1.41. It's not publicly released yet, so some of my views aren't bound. So let me just make sure I have those bound there. Okay, there we go. That's good. So come into the cockpit. We're going to check that our landing gear lever is in the down position. Flaps are up. Engines master's off. That is off. Spoid brakes. I said it again. Retracted. I'm going to take that to the sim. I'm going to take that to work. These are officially being announced spoid brakes. Weather radar, PWS, that is off. And then we come back up to the overhead here. We're coming down looking at our batteries. 27.8. That looks good. Wait a second. My batteries are on. Interesting. We'll pretend we didn't see that 25.8 there on that charge. I guess I left the batteries on and the external power was not on. So 27.8, external power is on. Nav position can come into position 1. We'll go up the left side of the captain's panel here. Crew supply oxygen is on. Ground control on. Navs, we would go on bat. We're going to wait for it to illuminate and extinguish. And we'll do the same for IR2. Remember, we are waiting for this to extinguish, so we know that each IR is capable of reverting to battery power shall we lose essential power on the aircraft. Christian, what's up, man? He says, might be something you're able to cover, but sometimes I have problems with drift on final approach and to recenter at low altitudes with engines and wing nacelle strikes. Christian, ask that question again if I don't get to it when we're back to the landing, when we're actually doing the pattern work. Right now, I'm just going to kind of go through the flow, but we will definitely talk about that when we're getting ready to take off and I'm in the pattern and we're flying landings or doing approaches. So that looks good there. Engine fire test. Someone told me to do this. There we go. Oh, you know what? My oral announcements are low. So I have these way down because there is a glitch on this pre-release version. That just, you can hear the stall in the background until we get the engine started. So that's, you guys don't have that problem because you don't have this version, but I'm sure that'll get cleaned up before it gets released. So those are all good there. That is on. We'll prime the APU because it's hot here in Dallas. I know that the gate doesn't work very well, so we get that primed up. I'll get my little McDo over here on the bottom right like I like to have it. Go ahead and wait for the veil light to pop up there. Christian said if you have time, it would be great to see how to properly correct it. Yes, Christian, I will definitely talk about maintaining lateral control of the aircraft. We're going to do one. We have Cavo weather right now, and then we're going to do a crosswind landing in the daytime and then a crosswind landing at nighttime, and we'll definitely talk about maintaining centerline, maintaining aircraft position. Now, one thing I did do as we listened to the APU spool up here is I removed the butter plug-in. I know it's fun. We like to try to get butters. I love trying to get butters with you guys. But for landing the aircraft in a realistic manner, I don't want to have that on there as a distraction. So I have an old version of the landing plugin, which it tells you your height above threshold and distance from centerline. That's all I care about. Sometimes I get a bugged out feet per minute. Sometimes it goes up into the thousands. I think it's part of the reason. I don't know if it was Dan Barry who created it, but the reason for his new versions is it takes into account all that other stuff. So the old version has some glitches with your touchdown rate, but I don't care about that. All I care about is height over threshold, distance from center line, and making sure we're in the touchdown zone, and making sure the aircraft is touching down on ref speed minus a few knots or plus a few knots. We don't want to be really below ref at touchdown. Ideally, you want to be on ref when the wheels touch down. But I will definitely talk about that, Christian, when we are doing the crosswind landings. All right, we got the APU spooled up. I am running the BSS sound pack. I love the update here. We'll go ahead and disconnect from ground power. What do we got for cabin temperatures out there? That looks a little bit toasty already. So in real life here in Dallas, I'll go pack flow norm. Most of the time when you're at the gate, these switches are all the way over here just because it's hot here in the summertime. All right, that is good. Let's do a quick alignment, or not alignment. Let's do a quick flight plan. Very simple flight plan. We're doing what's called a round robin. We're going to do DFW, DFW. Throw that in the box here. We're just going to be flight number V1. Cost index, we'll put 5 in there. This doesn't really matter. We'll put 10,000 in there. Align and confirm. All right, we're going to taxi out and depart off runway 17 right. And I'm just going to put in a SID. Let's just put in the Blico 8. We're not going to fly all the way out there. I'm just going to put that in the box to have something, and then we'll do an arrival back into Dallas on 17 center. Temporary insert. That is good. Secondary initialize. So we are going to use our secondary flight plan today, so we want to make sure to set up like we're going to set it up in real life. DFW, DFW. Secondary key again. Secondary flight plan, arrival. And we're going to do, if we have to sidestep to 17 left, no, you know what, we're going to stick with 17 center initially. So we're going to keep 17 center in the secondary. And then the last time we hit secondary, we come over here, look at the perf information, perf approach, pull up our charts here, 17 center. What do we got? 762. Man, that's how you know. It's been a while since I've flown. I normally have that memorized. 767, 200 MDA. 762 is in the box. Right now we've got Cavo weather, like I said, 29 or 9 or 2. There we go. Temperature outside, according to the box, is 14, which should be pretty close to standard, 15 degrees. Magnetic wind for this landing is 0 at 0. So our secondary is set up. All right. That looks good there. Progress page. I'm going to throw in the runway that we're departing from just in case we have some kind of malfunction. It's always nice to just look down here, get a GPS bearing distance to the runway. That's our departure runway, 17 right. And our perf data. So let's go ahead and fill that out. We're going to take a moderately loaded 319 since we're going to be coming right back to the runway. We don't want to be extra heavy. I don't really use the forward cargo in the 319. We don't need that much cargo. We'll take 121 packs, moderately loaded, 7 tons of fuel, quick refuel, apply those load settings. And I love doing Toga, guys, but we are going to be doing a flex takeoff. So this is where we're first going to start out. I'm going to get to your questions, too. I know you guys probably want to ask questions in chat, and I haven't got to them yet. As soon as I get the airplane loaded, I'll be paying much more attention to chat. But right now, let's talk a little bit about flex takeoff. Now, I love doing Toga in flight sim and X-Plane, and I highly encourage you guys to do Toga. Matter of fact, I got some new merch that's going to be dropping here pretty soon on the 10K special stream. I got a new mug that I absolutely love. I think you guys are going to love it too. But we'll wait for that to drop on the 10K special. But however, flex. So when do you use flex and when do you not use flex? In real life, you are going to use flex a lot of the time. I would say probably 90% of the time you're going to be doing flex takeoffs. Now, there are several reasons why you would not want to flex. One of them is going to be if the runway is contaminated. So anytime when I talk about contamination, it's standing water or slush. Now, not just rain. If you have a really long runway and it's just raining, and most of the runways here in the United States are grooved, so they don't really get pooling water or standing water, you're probably still going to flex. And you can debate, well, would a flex takeoff be better or worse on a wet runway? Because if you blow an engine before V1 on a wet runway at Toga thrust, your directional control is going to be a little bit harder to maintain than it would be if you were using a flex takeoff. So you can kind of debate that both ways. You say, well, if I was doing a flex takeoff and the engines were derated at 64 or 71 flex temp, as this is showing me right here, you're not going to have as much thrust. So if you blow an engine, your directional control on the runway is going to be a little bit easier. So you can kind of debate that back and forth. But when I say contaminated, standing water or slush, and it'll be company specific, we have limitations that say if you have compacted snow or ice on top of the snow on top of ice, certain conditions where that will apply specifically to my company. We won't get into those. But contaminated runways is a reason why you would not do a flex takeoff. Wind shear. Anytime there's wind shear reported at the field or on the run or at the runway you're taking off, sometimes they have runway specific wind shears. You're not going to be flexing with. For me, anytime there's wind shear, I don't even mess around with it. I say we're doing a flex takeoff, even if it's an advisory. Just because of my personal experience with wind shear, it frightened me. You guys heard that story on the podcast series that I did, all my members anyway. That's something that I'll never forget. And anytime there's a wind shear, I say, you know what, let's just flex it, or let's just Toga, no flex. Anytime there's a departure procedure that requires a full thrust for takeoff, we're doing the Euro tour right now, so we got a lot of stuff. Some of those crazy runways, they may require max takeoff or derated takeoff is not allowed. So that would be an instance when you would not flex. Any type of deferred maintenance item per the MEL where they say, okay, this is broken on the airplane, you need to use Toga thrust. Kind of hard for you guys as simmers, you're not going to have an MEL. And then of course, this is one that probably will apply to you guys as flight sim enthusiasts the most. When the flex temperature is within 10 degrees Celsius of actual outside air temperature. So, in Dallas, Texas, in the summertime, it gets really hot. Sometimes you see 35 C, you may see 40 C. Now, 40 is pretty high, it may be Vegas. But if your flex is 35 and it's 30 C outside, you cannot flex. You have to use Toga because your flex temp is within 10 degrees of the actual OAT. So that's one thing to pay attention to, especially as we enter the summer months now. So as we enter the summer months, pay attention to your OATs. Make sure you're not doing a flex takeoff when you should be doing a Toga takeoff. All right, that's my little bit about flex and no flex. So we're going to do configs 1+F. We are going to use for flex takeoff today. We got speeds of 153, 153, and 155. So we'll put those in here. Again, this is off 17 right. Long dry runway. Transition altitude is 18,000 feet. We'll throw that in the box. Our flex temp is 71, so we are pretty heavily derated today. You'd be melting if it was 61 degrees outside. Flaps is going to be a 1. We do not set the THS on the 319. All right. That is good there. Let's look at our initB page here. Let's get this set in here. We have a 54.1 zero fuel weight, followed by a zero fuel weight CG of 30.7. Block fuel for this flight, 7.0. Perfect. Hour 24 extra gas. We got all kinds of gas. We're doing just fine. All right, that looks good to me. Let's start closing up doors and get ready to get out of here, and we'll run some checklists. So come back to the overhead. All our pumps are on. Seatbelt sign on. Auto. Arm that. Wow, I haven't heard this yet. I'm going to have to turn down this. Let's turn the people volume down a little bit there. Alright. Anyway. Alright, let's do a before start checklist. Maintenance log and tail number. Onboard and check. Cockpit prep is completed. Gear pins and covers removed. Signs. We are on and auto. ADIRS. Nav. Fuel. We got 6.3 required for takeoff. 6.9 on board. Altimeters, 29er, 902, set 1, 2, and 3 times. EFB checked. Windows, doors, and slides, we're holding on those. Let me close them up right now. Let's go ahead and wait for those. Gotta wait for this indication here to show us closed doors. Dimitri says, fly with you, just got a update. Interesting, man, I'll have to take a look at it. We're doing overhead brake patterns? No, not necessarily overhead brake patterns. We're doing a visual traffic patterns. Did I see the article of the British Airways pilot that miscalculated the flex temp, almost had a boo-boo in the 321? Christian, I did not, man, I did not. What did they try to flex at? How do you know how much throttle you have to apply for Toga or flex? Lena, so in the Airbus, it's very easy. We have a set of detents, and in the real airplane, it's even easier than on flight sim, because unless you have detents on your throttle, you can't really feel it. But you move the throttles up here. This is the climb detent. This is where you're going to keep your thrust levers most of the time, especially when you have auto thrust on. So this is your climb detent. Your flex MCT detent is right here. This is when you're doing a flex takeoff. That's where your thrust levers need to be. You will also get an indication on your PFD that the flex is that you're in man flex. Toga, of course, is all the way forward. That's takeoff, go around thrust, maximum thrust. So in X-plane, you have to listen for the clicks. So flex is going to be 2 clicks, right? So 1, 2, I'm in flex. Toga would be 3 clicks. Now, in real life, it is easier to know where the thrust levers are because these are significant detents here. You actually feel them. You feel them pretty good. So, all right, that is good. Beacon light can come on. And let's disconnect the GPU. Ground power light is off. That looks good. There we go. Windows, doors, and slides, closing arm. Beacon on. Thrust levers idle. Parking brake is on for now. Actually, let's get rid of the jet bridge there. Parking brake is set. Transponder is on. Squawking 2000. XPDR mode. Alright. Let's go ahead and get out of here.
Ground to cockpit. Please show me where
we're backing off Charlie 21 or Charlie 31. I want to go chill in the alley, nose on the line, please.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
How do you calculate flex temp? Flex temp will automatically be calculated for you guys right here. And this comes off of your primary flight plan. You select what flap setting you want to use. If I want to do flaps 2, here's my flex temp. It's calculated. Flaps 1, different speeds at a flex temp. If you don't want to flex, no flex. These are your Toga takeoff numbers. TOLUS 319, 321 will calculate it for you. The flight factor 320 does not. There are numerous flex temp calculators out there. I haven't had very much luck with any of them really, but I think that's a limitation of my knowledge of getting them to work properly. So if you want a ballpark number for your flight factor 320,
okay, all doors and hatches are closed.
if it is a long dry runway, flex at 50. If you have a short dry runway but you still want to flex, do a 44 flex. That's really all you really need. Now, I highly encourage use that Toga, man, especially if you have that BSS sound pack. The only reason you flex in real life anyway is to preserve engine life, preserve wear and tear on the engines, reduce maintenance cycles. You can save the motors. No reason to save the motor in X-plane. We don't have a wear and tear simulation. That would be pretty cool if that was implemented somehow, but I don't know how you would implement that.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
All right, stand by on the brake release, sir. We clear to push? Yeah, we are clear to push. We did run a checklist. We got the beacon on. I'm just making sure everything is good. All right, here we go. Brakes release, clear to push.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Roger that. Why no THS on the 319? So the reason we don't put THS here, now this could be a company thing, guys, but as far as I know, we don't put THS here because the 319, 320, 321 does not auto trim for you. THS stands for Trimmable Horizontal Stabilizer. The JAR 330 and I assume the wide body Airbuses will auto trim for you after engine start when this is set. Right now, our trim value, I think it was what, up 0.7 or down 0.4, okay? So down 0.4%. If I put DN 0.4 here, it does absolutely nothing other than remind me. Now, you can't even set this trim wheel until the airplane is started, until you have the engines running, so you have hydraulic fluid to move the THS. So after start, we have flow patterns that set the trim. The after start checklist, or the taxi out checklist, will have a trim. The before takeoff checklist will have a trim verification as well. So you're going to check the trim three times minimum before you take off. Now the Airbus, I know this just from experience and flying it a lot in real life. If you're in the green, dude, and you get 30 trim, you're gonna be fine. Okay, there are some times where I've actually had the trim set, you know, at 17 or like one point, like way up here, and then you rotate and you just see the airplane spinning that trim wheel back to neutral. So the airplane will auto trim for you as soon as you get out of the takeoff mode and you start climbing away from the ground. You go from ground to flight mode. The trim takes over automatically anyway. So yes, you want to have your trim set properly from your procedures and from your readouts, but you don't need to put it in that McDo box there at all. All right, he's going to ask me to set the brake here, and we're going to fire up, and I got to let my dog out. Are we still pushing? What are you doing down there? Ground to cockpit. What are you doing to my brake pedals?
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Roger that. Brake set, clear, disconnect. We're firing one.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Roger that. Let's go. Let's turn one. We got 40 PSI. Engine one. Fire it off, baby. Hot start TBM has simulated wear model? Absolutely. The TBM is fantastic, man. Yeah, that you definitely want to watch your you want to watch your engine for sure. Jeremy said, can you remind me again why you don't be slow with advancing the thrust levers? I watched the pilot positively shove them forward to Toga. Really hard for takeoff. Yes, I will tell you right now, and that was actually on my notes for you guys. So, as we listen to this engine spool up, man, it's nice. All right, so during takeoff, the application of thrust. You know what? Let me get back to that. Let me get my dog out here. Listen to the engine spool up. Be right back.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal will be on the left. We'll see you next time. Have a safe flight.
All right, I also turned the fan on, so hopefully it doesn't interrupt my microphone. So, yes, the engines are FADEC control, but the reason that you do not move the thrust levers slowly, the Airbus, in particular, the way that you properly set takeoff thrust is you spool them up to 50% or 1.05 EPR. Well, yeah, 1.05 EPR. And we'll take a look at that today because I believe Tola said that they adjusted their EPR settings to be more to match the aircraft a little bit better in real life. Is this airplane too loud for you guys? Let me turn down the sound. I feel like it's pretty loud. We'll turn down to 75. Hopefully that's a little bit better. So you spool them up to 50% or 1.05 EPR, and then once the engines are stabilized, you go straight to either the Flex or the Toga D10. And the reason for that being is it doesn't matter how fast you move these engines forward, they're going to increase their thrust at a regulated rate from the full authority digital electronic computer, which is the FADEC. Now, you want to avoid, and I've seen guys do this, you want to avoid advancing the thrust levers slowly through the 60 to 74% N1 range. The reason is there's something called N1 fan flutter phenomenon. And basically what happens is you can get a harmonic vibration of the engines. I don't know. I know it's a real thing. I've never experienced it in real life though. So I wish I had a better explanation for you, but I know the book says to avoid 60 to 74% N1 because you want to avoid that harmonic flutter phenomenon in the engine themselves. So that's why you go straight to either your Flex or your Toga detent when you're applying thrust. We are also going to start up, you know what, we'll do a single engine taxi. We'll go normal, yellow electric pump is on, APU bleed is off, and we'll set flaps to 1. What airplane is that? This is the Tollus A319. All right, we got flaps 1 set here. That is good. And I feel like it's awfully dark in here. Where's my integral lighting? Sometimes X-plane has a weird lighting thing, but this cockpit sure looks beautiful here. Okay, after start, engine anti-ice is off. Yellow electric pump is on. We're single engine taxiing. Rudder trim 0. After start checklist completed. Let's get out of here. Taxi light coming on. Freckles Aviation, thank you so much, man, for the $5 bomb. He says, I'm an aspiring Airbus pilot. Have you got any tips and tricks for flying the Flight Factor and X-Plane 11? Oh yeah, man, I got a whole video series on the Flight Factor 320. Check it out. It's the Airbus Professional Series. Basically, I take you from cold and dark all the way from Dallas to Phoenix, and I go over a lot of stuff in that series. Okay, well, I'm well above my breakaway thrust limitation. Why are we stuck here? Okay, that was just Tollus being Tollus then? Weird. Alright, there we go. We're back. Single engine taxi, so you don't want to go over 40% thrust when you're taxiing. I had to definitely go above that there to break away. I think that's just a better pushback situation. But Freckles, thank you so much for your support, man. So yeah, the Flight Factor Professional Series is probably going to be a good place to start. It's a little bit outdated. I would like to redo it, but I just don't have unlimited time right now. And it takes a lot of time. But as far as landing and takeoffs goes, we're going to be doing the Flight Factor 320 here towards the end of this stream. So if you have any 320 specific questions, I will be more than happy to help you out, especially when we're in the 320. We're going to do this. We're going to do 3 landings in the 19, 3 in the 21, and then we're going to do the 320. My simulator check is actually in a simulated 320 aircraft. How much fuel do you save with a single-engine taxi? You know, it will depend. On a day like today, when I taxi out here and there's nobody out here, not that much. But where it does help is where you taxi out and you round the corner and you're number 42 in line. If you've got 2 motors running, you're probably going to shut one down anyway. So it's always nice to just have one going so you don't have to go through it. It's a less step. So as a captain, I'm not going to be messing with engine starting during taxi. The first officer is going to be handling engine starts and shutdowns. So it's just a less workload for us up front. You know, he can have his eyes outside while I have my eyes outside, and it's a better environment. Now, if this was real life right here and I turned the corner and I saw this, I'd say go ahead and fire up engine 2. He'd get it fired up, ready to go before we even got, you know, to the end of the runway there. But another reason for the single engine taxi is not only for fuel savings, but when you're in airports that have high density altitudes or they're just hot, like Vegas, and you taxi out, was it 2.5 or 2.6 now? You're going downhill. If you have both engines running, there is no way you're going to get to the end of that runway in the summertime without getting hot brakes, especially if the plane came in with 150°C temps when you left the gate. So another reason for the single engine taxi is not only fuel, but it's for brake wear. And if you've got both engines running and you don't need it, you're light, you're going to be accelerating at idle thrust and you're going to be riding those brakes. There's nothing you can do about it. Jeremy says, I tried the real Airbus side stick and I was really surprised how heavy it felt compared to the joystick at home. It takes a lot of effort to pull aft. Yeah, Jeremy, you're absolutely right. That's why I recommend the Warthog stick, because I think it is close as far as side sticks that I have felt personally, just that tactile feel. I think the Warthog stick kind of captures that the best that I have felt. TBM Life says from 42 sounds like Atlanta. Yeah, you got it, man. Atlanta, notorious, dude. I never leave Atlanta gate with 2 engines running. Never. I've turned the corner at Atlanta where you come out of the ramp area and you're waiting to go from ramp to ground, and I look down there and I see, oh, there's only 4 planes in line. Let's go ahead and start engine 2. But ground says hold your position, and he taxis another 20 airplanes past you before you get to go out. So now you're 28 in line or whatever. So I don't even start number 2 until I am well on my way to the end of the runway in Atlanta. Dimitri, what's up? He says, did you ever have the chance to examine the tolless crosswind landing behavior? Dimitri, I have, and we're going to talk about that a little bit further. We're going to see if we can, if we get the same type of flight control logic when we do our crosswind landing. We're doing this first landing without wind, then we're going to do the second landing with wind, with crosswind, and we're going to kind of dissect what's happening with this newest release candidate version of the tolless. Now, this is one that you guys don't have yet. It is still in beta testing. That's why I have, it's just got some minimal bug fixes. I'm going to turn my oral volume back up now. But we'll take a look at that, Dimitri. This is BSS Mohammed. I'm trying to remember, I got to stay on centerline with my honeycomb yoke, because I'm using the yoke as the tiller. It's actually kind of cool. Alright, let's go. Was that engine running? Oh wow, it's just windmilling there, I guess. Alright, let's go ahead and fire up engine 2. Yellow electric pump is off. APU bleed is on.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
We got bleed pressure. Go ahead and crank engine 2. I'll try to stay on centerline. Thank you for the subscribe there, guys. I know I'm missing a lot of the subscribe notifications, but thank you. Like to hear this engine spool up. I'm loving this IAE BSS pack here. This is the updated version. Oh yeah. Comrade, welcome to the channel, dude. Comrade is BSS, guys. Comrade, glad to have you here, man. Definitely loving your work. I'm very excited for the 321 BSS pack. You guys will hear the difference. The 321 we're going to fly is a completely stock version, so you'll hear the audio difference. Alright, we got a good start on 2. APU bleed can come off, APU can come off. I'm going to get a little off center line here, I know that, but that's good. Spoilers arm, flaps are set. And after start checklist, engine anti-ice is off. Yellow electric pump is off. Rudder trim 0. After start checklist complete. Let's go ahead and do our flight control checks. Oops, I have the engine page up there. We're doing the keg route. Kilo Echo Golf. Full up. Full down. A neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudders. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Flight controls are checked. Auto brakes max. Takeoff config. What are we? 0.7 down on the trim. That looks good. And here's Kilo Echo Golf. I'm trying to do the first officer's flows and taxi the airplane here. On TARA. And here we go. And we'll hold short here of Kilo of 17 right at Golf. Or Echo Golf, I should say. And we'll run our checklist there. Whoop. Marker volume. Alright, so I'm way off center line here. I can't. That's going to be interesting tomorrow, guys. I think just having the tiller, I'll feel back normal. But trying to drive, I feel like I'm driving a car with the yoke. You know? Alright, here we go. Brakes are set. Let's run a V4 takeoff checklist, please, all the way through. Oops, one thing I forgot. Pet peeve of mine. Come on now, turn that off. There we go. Gross leg comparison is complete. Pitch trim. Here we go. 0.7% CG set. V1, VR, V2 flex. We got 153, 153, 155. Flex 71 set. Flaps, they are config 1 plus F. Flight instruments. Checked. Flight controls. Checked. ECAM memo. Takeoff all green. ECAM status checked. PWS is auto. TCAS code set. TRA cabin crew advised. Mini brief is complete. Takeoff runway. 17 right at Echo Golf confirmed. Fuel. 6.3 required. 6.8 on board. Engine mode selector is normal. Bleeds and packs are set before takeoff checklist complete. We'll go ahead and move those back to that position there. All right. So, before we take the runway here and take off, I'm going to move us, I want to take a look at the, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just pop this up here, and I'll show you. So, every time I do a takeoff, you guys see me move the stick forward, you know, nose forward on the stick, 80 knots thrust set, neutral by 100. What I'm doing here is I'm applying forward pressure on the side stick to maintain a nice friction between the nose wheel and the pavement. So, as the aircraft accelerates down the runway and gets faster, my authority on the rudders is going to be less and less, or I should say my authority on the nose wheel is going to be less and less. At 100 knots, you have enough airspeed where the vertical stab is going to be effective enough where you can maintain directional control solely so with the rudder pedals. You don't need that nose wheel steering to move at all. Now, I say nose wheel steering, but when I'm moving my rudder pedals, the nose wheel does move a little bit. Not like when you have the tiller, but it does move a little bit. You see that there? And that will linearly decrease as the speed increases. Now, one thing to note, we've never really talked about it, is why do I go nose forward on the stick, or how much do I go nose forward on the stick? So technically, in the book, it says if the crosswind is less than 20 knots and there is no significant tailwind, you can have 50% forward on the stick, which is right there. If you're taking off in a severe windy condition, you got crosswinds over 20 knots, it actually says full forward deflection on the side stick. Now, I don't know if this is something new in the book. I was just reading some of my material before I go tomorrow, and maybe it's something I just glanced over or something I forgot. But if you have winds over 20 knots that are a crosswind or a significant tailwind, you're going to be full forward on the side stick. But we don't have any wind, so we're going to be nose forward on the stick right about there. That's all we need. Once we reach 100 knots, we should be neutral, so there is a nice release in side stick pressure as you get to 100 knots. So if you time it perfectly, when you hit 100, you're neutral. Next thing we're going to talk about is lateral control. Something during crosswinds. A lot of you guys flying 172s, doing stuff where you have light aircraft and you're doing traffic pattern work, especially in real life, you're taking off down the runway with a probably sometimes even a 90 deflection on the yoke, right, to keep your ailerons down. Sorry, my dogs keep breaking into the room here. In an Airbus and in an airliner in general, you don't want to do that, because if I roll, if say I have a strong crosswind from the left and I go to take off, look at my roll spoilers, my ailerons. They're up. That's going to hurt my takeoff performance. So you can have minimal control, minimal lateral inputs. And what I say is minimal is if you look at this little side stick indicator here, you see how there's a mark over here and a mark over here? You don't want to get all the way to that line, because now my spoilers are beginning to deploy. So if you are taking off in a crosswind, which we are going to do here in a little bit, and you have to use lateral control, you want to keep it very minimal as to not deploy the roll spoilers, because that will hurt your takeoff performance, and it can also give you ring lock when you rotate. So that is a little tidbit about that. Let's go ahead and take off. Let's get out of here. Now the takeoff on the next one, the 319 and 321, excuse me, is not. We're not going to take this much time. I just want to do a full cold and dark with you guys for the first one, and then it'll be much faster. So we'll be able to pick it up from there. Giuliandi says, I remember this airport from your Airbus Professional Series video. Yes, Giuliandi, you are correct, my friend. You're absolutely correct. Let's see how poor my lineup is here with my yoke. I think I overshot. That was pretty good, actually. No, it's a little bit under. Snapped out a little bit too fast. But I'll take it. All right, guys, let's do this. We're going to take off. I'm going to essentially pull heading. We're going to activate the secondary, and we're just going to fly a visual landing pattern. Nose forward on the stick. Spool them up 50%. 1.05 EPR. Which is, we're a little bit over. Here we go. Toga. I'm sorry. Flex. So this is why I'm doing this. Man, flex. SRS runway. Real quick, got to pause it. I know you guys ask this question all the time. I don't want to forget. Why do I have a runway here, and why sometimes do you not have runway in the FMA column? So in the real Airbus, the runway, now I'm saying in the real Airbus because I don't know how Tolis has it modeled, and I don't know how Flight Factor has it modeled. If they modeled it correctly, it would be like this. Runway will be displayed in your FMA when the runway that you are taking off on has an ILS frequency and it is tuned when you go down the runway. If you do not have an ILS to this return run, or not even to the return runway, to the runway that you're taking off on, or if it is not tuned, you will not get the runway here. You only get, after liftoff, you'll get a different enunciation. So the guys have always been asking, when do I have runway? Why do I not have runway? It depends if the runway that you're taking off from has an ILS and if it is tuned. All right, man flex, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. 8 knots thrust set. I'm gonna have to turn my volume down here. It's getting awfully loud. Slowly get that pressure out of there. 100 knots neutral. Now for rotation, we're looking for a very smooth 3 degrees per second on the rotation. V1, rotate. Positive rate, you're up. Right to the SRS, speed reference system. SRS is basically, we'll talk about SRS in a little bit. Man, these engines sound good, comrade. Oh, man. All right, there comes our lever climb. Let's go ahead and get a positive trend at airspeed. There we go. Let's go ahead and bring it back 1 click. Since I know we were in the flex detent, I know climb is 1 click back. Thrust climb, auto thrust. I'm going to reset MCP altitude to be 3,000. Oh, I'm going to miss that one. Speed alt star. And let's go ahead and turn our flight directors off. I'm going to turn the auto thrust off. We're going to manually take over here. I'm going to go back to the bird. We're going to get back down to 3,000 feet. Maintain about 180 knots. So I will select speed, 180. We're also going to come in here. Secondary. Activate secondary. Perf data. Activate and confirm. We are now set up for the 17 center. LS push buttons on. And now we're just going to fly a visual pattern. So I'm going to get back down to 3,000 feet. Turn my track IR on here for a second. All right, take a look at the runway. All right, so this first landing, guys, is going to be very simple. We're going to take it to we're going to go from a landing to a go around, essentially, kind of a bulk landing. That's the RA calling out, no worries. What we want to try to achieve is we want to, instead of coming in straight in, like I always tell you guys, when you're coming in straight in, flaps 2, 180 knots at 2,000 feet, we want to make sure we're 180 knots flaps 2 before we start our base turn. So we're at 3,000. I'm going to go ahead and start coming down now. I'm going to leave the MCP at 3,000 for a go around. I'm going to go ahead and nose forward for a nice descent. Let's take it on down to 2,000 feet or so. Man, the rumbling of these engines is nice. All right, that's the altitude alerter. Check. Now, in a visual pattern like this, since we're landing 17 center, it's a little bit harder to see. It's over here. A rule of thumb is once you go past the touchdown zone, you want to count to 3. Give yourself 3 seconds before you start your base turn. So I'm going to go ahead and go flaps 2 now. We're at 180 knots. No need for the chrono, Glenn Chambers. You got it, man. OT's got the bird emoji. I love it, man. Get a little bit more thrust in there. We'll keep coming down, 2,300. We want to be wings level 500 feet on the path. And when I say on path is I mean on a descent profile. You do not want to end up descending below profile at idle thrust because you can end up in a bad situation very quickly. So this landing is completely manual. I got manual thrust. No autopilot. There's a 1,000-foot alerter that we're below 3. We can check that. We're going to leave the MCP at 3,000 for a go-around. Okay, here comes our touchdown zone. Let's give ourselves a couple of seconds. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and lower the landing gear and begin our turn. I'm going to mash this forward for approach speed reference. I will also call the cabin, and a little late on the turn there, but we'll start the turn now. That was more like 7 seconds from when I started the turn. Flaps 3. Alright, so our ideal touchdown, we're looking for 50 feet over the threshold on centerline. And then we're going to go into a bulk landing or go around. Flaps full. Let's start slowing down to ref. Want to keep looking out that window. Ideally here in the pattern, arm the spoilers. And of course the FO will be running checklists and all that. But since we're still doing this for semi-entertainment purposes, we're going to eliminate, can't have it completely realistic. 1,000. 1,000, we are pretty much stable, but you want to avoid being level, fully configured if you can help it. So you can see here, I still have a little bit of thrust in there. I'm still descending, so we're looking good. And we want to come to 177. Now I undercut this turn significantly. That was a bad job on my part. I was looking at that taxiway. I thought that taxiway was the runway. So you can see here how I undercut this. This was kind of a poor job. I ideally want to be 500 feet, wings level. We might still make it here. It's all those circling approaches in Calvi and Innsbruck make me want to circle tighter. So there's 500. I'm a little off, but we're well within parameters. We're a tad low. Let's watch that descent rate. Get the thrust out of there. 2 whites, 2 reds on the slope. Let's follow it down now. No milking it. No coming in low. No jip whiz warnings. Right on ref speed, right on slope. Don't accept anything less than perfect. The slope's going to run away from us here. We're inside of minimums.
50, 40, 30, 20.
Begin to retard. Nice slow flare. There's our touchdown. I'm going to take a pause so I can look at it. So on that landing, we were 57 feet above threshold, so we might have been just a tad high. And we don't really care about the landing speed there. 2 feet from centerline, not bad. Let's continue the rollout here. Just for a second, and then I'm going to go into replay mode. We'll take a look at this. Now I'm going to execute a go around off of this, which this should be interesting here. But let's take a look at the replay real quick. And we'll talk about this. Way to go, Harrison Ford. You got it, Russ. All right, so we'll take it back. We'll look at this. Look at this landing here. So you could see this is not a good position. In a perfect world, I should have been definitely straight in here with the runway. I was pulling a Harrison Ford there, as Russ D said, trying to line up with that taxiway. That's just a pilot error on my part. So we'll go ahead and skip to the runway. And let's watch it come over threshold here. Almost did an Air Canada SFO organic milk. Yeah, man, almost. This is why I'm doing this, man. All right, so you could see that bank. Now, if you're flying into Kennedy or you're going into LaGuardia, I should say, and you're doing that circle, that's totally acceptable. But for a long runway like this, I should have been out there. I should have been straight. Okay, we get wings level. We're coming over the threshold. 57 feet. Let's watch our flare and touchdown. Start that flare. Just hold it. That is pretty good there. With no float there, we're right down on the second marker. So there's our aiming markers. Touchdown 1, touchdown 2, and the touchdown zone really continues on. We're well in the touchdown zone. Flare attitude is a little bit low. Let's see, what are we pitching at? Yeah, we're only at about, we're not even at 5 degrees. So I could have flared a tad higher on that one. Just a little bit higher, but other than that, definitely acceptable, other than that rollout coming in low. So let's exit replay mode, and we're going to take this into a go-around / balked landing, and then I will turn the autopilot on, and we will adjust the winds here. All right, replay mode is off. All right, traffic on the runway, go around. Toga, flaps 3. I'm going to let that speed build up a little bit just because this is a low, long rollout there. Positive rate. Gear up. Now we're following the SRS commands. climbing away now. Man Toga, open. Oh, I'm sorry. Man Toga SRS, go around track. All right, there is our lever climb. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce it to MCT. I'm not going to go all the way back to climb just yet. Here comes 2 for 3. Let's go ahead and kill the flight directors. F speed, flaps 1. Auto thrust disengage. And we're going to level at 3,000 feet. And I'm going to rebuild the automation here. So we're going to go flight director, autopilot 1, altitude heading, and then let's set our auto thrust. There we go. Speed alt heading. We're not quite on the climb D10, I guess. There we go. And we'll go flap 0 since we went all the way to 200 knots. Alright. So that was our first attempt. Flying Guitarist says that looked like a great in real life 319 landing. Thank you, man. What height should you be aiming above the threshold? 50 feet. 50 feet is where you want to be above the threshold. So we're going to do a couple things here. We're going to speed up to 210 knots. In real life, would you go around? If you got to go around, you got to go around, man. Would I go around for that undercut of the turn? Probably not really, but it could be debatable. You may get a call from the gatekeeper or Folkwa saying, hey, man, I saw you had a pretty nice turn there below 500 feet. What do our op specs say about being stable? So it's just kind of that game you play. You know, if it was... The check right answer is yes. If you roll out there and you're below 500 feet and you're not aligned with the center line, it's go around time. That's the check right answer. But let's go ahead and adjust the, what am I looking for here? I'm looking for this, and we're going to do a little bit of weather. So we're going to add a wind layer. We're going to bring it down here at there, and we're going to do a direct crosswind from the left. So we're going to have a, actually more often than not, you're going to get it from the east coming out here. So let's say we do a 0, almost a direct crosswind, 083 degrees. We're landing on 17, so that's almost 90 degrees. We're going to do a speed of 10 knots because I think X-plane significantly enhances what crosswinds feel like. So now that I've got the autopilot running, I'm going to go ahead and turn us back around. We're going to activate the approach phase again for 17 center. That looks good. We'll have our LS push buttons on. We're below F speed, so we'll go, or S speed, I should say. Flaps 1 coming out. Do you need manual trim? No, you do not need manual trim. You get those throttles forward and you get the airplane going. All right, let's go ahead and reduce speed to 180 knots. And we're going to talk about lateral control here. And I'm intentionally going to extend this one out a little bit longer so you can watch me try to keep the airplane on center line for a duration of the approach path here. So we've already got the approach loaded. LS push buttons are on. We're going to come all the way around now to heading, just go 360. There's, well, I just want to be at 180 knots, not 170. 180 knots there. Let's go flaps 2. The gatekeeper sounds intimidating? Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to get a call from the gatekeeper. The airplane will tell on you. The real-life airplane will definitely tell on you. Is the gatekeeper always that diplomatic? Not always. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, I'm sorry guys, I don't know if this is loud for you. It's pretty loud for me, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit here to 60%. I'll also drop my main volume a tad so I can hear myself think. So now we're going to be doing this with a 12-knot direct crosswind. If it's not significant enough, I can always increase it, but I think a 12-knot in X-plane is more so about 18 knots in real life. We're going to see how it handles. So there's two methods of maintaining aircraft centerline. In light GA aircraft in a crosswind condition, you're going to probably be taught how to either crab or to slip or cross control. Basically, you're going to have one wing low and you're going to have opposite rudder to keep the airplane tracking straight but you're going to be flying at, you know, a little bit crooked or in a slip configuration. That is fine. And to be honest with you, when I was flying 172s and stuff, that was my preferred method of crosswind correction. I like to keep the aircraft straight. I like to have my inputs in all the way down the approach path. However, when you get to start flying airliners, that's not the preferred method. One, it scares the crap out of the passengers when you start slipping airliners, and most of the airlines probably won't even let you slip. But we know the 767 can do it because of the Gimli glider incident. So the preferred method of an airliner in a crosswind is going to be the crab method. And what do I mean by crab? Crabbing is we are going to keep the wings level, but the nose of the aircraft is going to be pointing into the wind. Think of the aircraft tail almost like a weather vane. So as I'm flying, the wind is coming across the horizontal stab here. It's going to want to point into the wind, very much like a weather vane. So if you let the airplane weather vane into the wind and you just use nice gentle lateral inputs on the side stick, you can keep wings level and you can crab all the way down. That's what we're going to try to accomplish here. The thing with crabbing is once you get over the threshold, you need to decrab the aircraft. So you do not want to touch down in a crab configuration, because if you touch down with the nose pointing into the wind, you're going to do what's called side loading. And if you side load the aircraft, one, it feels harder than normal. It feels like it's a hard landing because you're getting that lateral G-force. Two, it's not good for the structural airframe. It's not good for the landing gear components. And three, it's you could end up overcorrecting and having a difficult time maintaining directional control. So to decrab the aircraft on touchdown, what you need to do is add the proper inputs. And I'm going to wait until we're on final here so I can show you guys when we're aligned with the runway. It'd be kind of hard for me to explain this when we're not even looking at the runway. So I'm going to go ahead and get us configured to turn back around here, get the cabin calls done. We're 2300 outside of Jiffy, so we're looking good. And we'll arm the spoilers when we get back around. So we'll just give it a second here until we turn inbound. All these quick pitch and thrust changes will scare the hell out of me as a passenger. Leonidas, yeah man, it definitely would. And that's why a lot of guys get uncomfortable, or passengers get uncomfortable with go-rounds. But when you see it in the sim, it's really a non-event. It's a non-event for the flight crew. It's something we always do. To be honest, they're kind of fun, as long as it's not go-home day and you're trying to get home before traffic hits. So a go-around really is a non-event for the flight crew. Passengers, however, are not subject to it as much as we are, so they may seem on edge. But if you're ever flying in an airplane and your airplane doesn't go around, I'm telling you now, there is no reason for you to feel uncomfortable. Is it okay to go around with flaps 4? Yes, Monis Johnson. So what happens in the Airbus, we're going to do, when you call go around, the call out for us is go around flaps. So since I was flying that approach, I would say go around flaps. At that point, I am moving the thrust levers to Toga, and I am getting ready to pitch to follow the SRS commands, being careful not to tail strike, because if I've been on the runway a little bit longer. And sometimes when you do that full Toga, you have a pitch up moment, typically in a 321 more so than the other two aircraft. So you got to be careful for a tail strike, but you're going Toga and you're beginning to pitch up to follow the SRS. At that moment, since I said go around flaps, the first officer is going to retract the flaps one step. So we were at full, we're going to go flaps 3. That's the configuration you're going to lift off from the ground on. At that point, he'll then call positive rate, gear up, and then it's a normal takeoff. Once you go above F speed, you're going to go flaps 1, so you're going to skip position 2, and you're going to go straight to flaps 1, and then above F speed again, flap 0, and it's just like a normal takeoff. But you do want to get that first notch of flaps out before you go around. So the call out for you flying the Airbus, if you do a go around, just say it to yourself, go around flaps. At that point, move the thrust levers forward, retract the flaps one step. If you were at 3, go to 2. If you were at flaps full, go to 3. Go around sounds fun as a passenger. I think it's fun, man. I've been on a couple jets where they've gone around. Matter of fact, when I was going to my interview for a regional airline, on the regional airline that I was interviewing for, they went around 3 times in Indianapolis. 3 go-rounds. That's when I started to get a little bit like, what's going on? When you do 3 go-rounds in a row, fuel, depending on your flight and pre-flight, fuel can definitely become an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and just capture the localizer here. We'll go loc mode. We'll let it capture. I'm going to reduce, we'll leave it at 180 knots where it flaps to. I want to be on a longer final here so we can see how this crosswind is going to behave. J&G, what's going on, man? Toilet paper, yeah, that flap full configuration does produce a lot of drag. Once you get up to 3, though, it's not terrible. Alright, so we should have a significant crosswind from the left here. I want to see where the airplane stabilizes, and then we may adjust the strength of the wind. Looks like she had a hard time capturing the lope there. Overshot the lope there, Fifi. I'm going to bump the wind up a little bit. It doesn't look like it's strong enough, so let's bump the wind up even more. Let's do a... Let's bump it up to 17 knots. Let's see what that does. Oh, yeah. Three go-rounds like a free theme park ride. Yeah, a free theme park ride that may not end up very well. You may end up in a different destination. Not to mention the 4th landing when we touched down, dude, it was hard. I never did find out what was going on. I didn't think it would be good nature of me to go up there and be like, so what was that all about, when I'm going for my interview? Okay, so here we can kind of understand. Let's take a look outside. So you can see the aircraft is tracking straight on the runway, but the airplane is weather vaning to the left here about 10 degrees or so. This is the crab configuration that we're talking about. Now, let's talk about the correct inputs on touchdown before we get there. That way we can just kind of have it, or just go through it in one solid motion. I don't have to pause the sim. So, as you come over the threshold and you're in this crab configuration, we got to do 2 things. We need to decrab, so we need to use a rudder input to get the nose straight. That will keep the wheels straight with the longitudinal axis of the runway or the course that you're following. That will prevent a side loading. So we want to do that. Now, because we're in an airplane and everything is dynamic, when you apply rudder, so I'm going, in this situation, I'm going to apply right rudder to straighten the nose. What happens to these wings when I apply right rudder? If I apply right rudder, this wing is going to accelerate forward. When this wing accelerates forward, it's going to be producing more lift than this wing. So there is going to be a tendency for this wing to want to roll to the right. If we have a crosswind pushing us to the right already, we definitely do not want to roll to the right. So this is where you're going to get a cross configuration. You're going to add a little right rudder, or I'm going to add a little right rudder, and then I'm going to use a little left aileron to keep the airplane itself over the center line of the runway. Now, in a perfect touchdown, if I have a little left aileron to keep the airplane straight on the center line, I'm going to touch down with my left main gear first, then my right main, and then my nose. Now, that's in a significant wind. It's very possible that you can get that input in there, and then just you can perfect it where you put in that aileron, you roll center right over the runway, and then both mains touch down at the same time. You really got to be fighting a significant wind to touch down on the upwind main gear first, then both at the same time. So we'll see what happens here when I try this touchdown. My problem, and we're going to see if this persists with X-Plane, is when I try to use lateral position control. In X-Plane, when I try to get that left, in this example, left aileron in there to turn the airplane back to the left because it's going to try to roll me to the right as I put in right rudder, I have a hard time keeping the airplane on center line, and I don't know if that's X-Plane physics or if that's TOLAS physics. And we're going to try it with the 321 and 320 as well. But in real life, I'm going to just try to do my real life corrections right now, and we're going to see how the airplane responds. And then we'll go from there. So we are configured. Let's go ahead and drop the gear. Let's start slowing down. We're cleared approach. VFE next, minus 10. Well, let's go flaps 3. Christian, what's up, man? Says V1, yo, what kind of monkey pilots you got working here, guys? Oh, by the way, did I get the job? Yeah, that's what I wanted to avoid, man. It's definitely what I wanted to avoid. Alright, and we'll go flaps. This is what I didn't want to do either. It's just bad of me, but we're just training, right? So we're flaps full, fully configured, not the best configuration. If you blow an engine right here in level flight, completely dirty, in theory, yes, the Airbus can get you out of it, but you don't want to be there. I mean, look at our speed. We're at 138 knots, completely dirty. If you're doing this maneuver, it'd be nice to be up at, 10,000 feet at least. But this is not a real-life configuration here. You do not want to see this, and I do not want to do this in the sim tomorrow. Here comes the slope. I will take manual control of the aircraft. Autopilot is off. Flight director's off. Give me the bird. I will leave the auto thrust on for this approach because I want to see the behavior of the auto thrust system on the Toga. So we're kind of doing a test here for myself as well. And I don't know if Phantom is still in chat, but we kind of assess the Toga's flight modeling characteristics here. I'm going to try my best to just do real-world inputs, and then the next landing, the last landing we're going to do is going to be at night, and then I will try to adjust it for the sim. But I'm going to try to not overcorrect. I feel like I have to overcorrect in X-plane. We're going to see what happens here. So you can see my flight path marker is off-center. That's because the airplane is crabbing into the wind. So as I round out over the threshold, you can come in over the threshold crab. That's good. But right as you get down to that 30-foot mark, you got to start decrabbing the aircraft. We're 2 whites, 2 reds on the slope. Do not accept anything else. Watch that vertical speed, 800 feet per minute there. Don't want to go above 1,000. The bird emoji. I love that, man. You got it, Fubar. Okay, there we go. Getting high. Get back down. Get back down. Lock it in now. Lock it in. So I'm a little off centerline already. Let's go ahead and correct that. Let's center up the localizer there. We're on the pappies. 2 whites, 2 reds. As we go below minimums, the glide slope is going to run away from us. That's going to be normal. Begin the decrab.
20. Retard. 10. 5.
Spoilers. And I actually triggered the reverse. Let's pause that. So I know I got off centerline there as we rolled out, but I want to see... yeah, that looks terrible, but I was too excited. I want to see the replay. So let's take a look at that. Let's study this. Let's back it up here. And I shouldn't have triggered the reverser since we're going to be going around. That's another boo-boo. Alright, so we're going to watch this one from the back. So here we go. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This should give you a good example of what I'm talking about. Airplane is tracking center, but as I apply right rudder, we're going to want to drift to the right, so I need the left aileron to keep the aircraft's position on the center line. Let's see what happens here. Let's see how I did. So coming across the threshold, still crabbed. Here comes the decrab. Look at the left aileron working. That was pretty ugly. So I feel like those were adequate real-life corrections. When we do our third and final one, I will try to adjust this. So let's watch this in slow motion here. So I'm trying to decrab the rudder, but my nose is not moving. You see how, look at my rudder. So my rudder is significantly deflected, but I'm getting no nose movement here. I'm getting no movement of the nose because this is a side-loaded configuration. We should be straight here. We are still in a side-loaded configuration. So there's touchdown. So that's what I'm talking about. We have the left main down, which would be normal, but this nose needs to be straight. I could not straighten this nose out with those corrections. So I'm going to try my darndest to fix that when we do our third and final approach here. So let's watch it play out. Let's watch it one more time in real time. So that nose, that's actually a good angle. I mean, that nose never came to the right. The airplane never decrabbed. Yeah. So that's, we're going to note that. We're going to change the time to night, and we're going to do one more approach. Here comes replay mode. This is not real life here with the reversers out going into a go-around, so just bear with me as we remedy this situation. We're going to stow the reversers. Toga thrust. Flaps 3. Go around flaps. With those engines to spool up. We're going to have some severe frame issues there. Whoa! Positive rate, gear up. Go ahead and configure the airplane here. Auto thrust can come off. I'm going to go straight to flaps 1, level at 2000. And let's rebuild the automation. Flight Director 1, Flight Director 2, Autopilot 1. Pull for altitude and reselect our speed 180. Arm the auto thrust, get it into the climb detent. Right there, speed alt heading. There we go. Aircraft is reconfigured. Let's go to nighttime. All right, let's turn it around. Oh, that was the wrong knob there. Coming left. How hard on the rudder were I? I was pretty hard. I thought it was significant, and you can see in the replay the rudder is definitely moving. You don't want to mash on the rudder, because mashing on the rudder will only accelerate the problem of that roll to the right. So, he said, Romulus coming up. You just had a good point there. Check my rudder sensitivity, give more rudder authority. I'm going to take a look and make sure. I thought that I had them pretty much linear for this. Let's take a look. Rudder pedals, response curve. So yeah, that's toe brakes. Yeah, here we go. So it's pretty much linear, man. I mean, that can... What I'll do is I will delete this for this next test. That'll be the only... I don't want to change a bunch of stuff, because then I don't know what needs to be fixed. So I'm going to delete that, have the curve completely linear, and I'm going to try my best now to do the same landing, but really get that nose to move. And we're going to see how much I got to move the rudder. What I will do too is I will put up the flight control page here, and I will minimize this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this... I just put it in the bottom of the screen here. I'll just put it right on top of the... That's about as far as I can move it. Well, that's annoying, isn't it? Alright. If I don't remember, spam the chat when I'm on final to pop up the flight control page. What road mod do I use? I don't have any road mod, man. Flying Guitar says, I'm really curious what the Flight Factor does with real-world inputs. Yeah, we're going to check it out, too. Can you do a landing with the flight director on to use and explain the flare law, Antonio? So flare law, essentially what's happening is at 30 feet, the airplane takes a snapshot, or the airplane at 50 feet, the airplane takes a snapshot of the pitch attitude. At 30 feet, it begins to pitch trim down. The trim starts to run forward. to achieve, what is it, -3 degrees attitude. So it does work. I've tested it before. I really want to focus on the crosswind on this approach here. I do know that the flare mode is modeled, and to be honest, I don't feel like it's too far off. I'm more concerned now about using this rudder control, trying to get the right rudder authority there. But let's see, I'm going to try to really get that nose to straighten out. I'm not going to increase the wind or lessen the wind. We're going to do the same wind. I'll do a little bit shorter final this time. We're already at 2,000 feet. Let's go ahead and activate, confirm the... oops, come over here. Activate and confirm. 17 center again. There we go. So we're ready to go. We'll try it one more time. Do a V1 cut, bro. It's fun. I will do a V1 cut on the last one, comrade, in a 320. I am not on Vulcan, no. I love flying X-Plane at night, though, man. Just look at this. That is beautiful. -2 degrees. Thank you, Phantom. Fly around on track, cross-controlled, and play around with the amount. Yeah, I will, Salem, I will definitely, I'll do that on final here. I will move the rudder on final to see what I need. When I add rudder input while crabbing, do you kick the rudder constantly to the opposite direction? I wouldn't say, you don't want to, I don't want to make it sound like you kick it and it's a violent maneuver. But yes, you apply smooth, controlled pressure to the side that you need to go to, and you maintain that on touchdown. Because if you just take it right out, the airplane's going to start to weather vane again, and you may not have the nose wheel on the ground, right? So as soon as you gotta, it's a balancing act. You get that pressure in there, and you hold it, and you fly the airplane all the way through 60 knots. You do not stop flying the airplane when the wheels touch the ground. You want to fly the airplane all the way to 60 knots. Yes, Seth, this is the TK Night, or this is the TK Light mod, I believe. Yeah, this is TK Light mod. Under what flap or under conditions are you using flaps 3 during takeoff, not go around? In real life organic milk, I will only use flaps 3 when we get our ACARs back depicting that we need to do a flaps 3 takeoff. So it would be, I don't have a scenario off the top of my head, but I would only use a flaps 3 takeoff when the ACARs data came back, performance data came back saying, hey, we need you to do a flaps 3 takeoff on this runway. Whether it be for it's going to be for performance at that point, doing a flaps 3. Alright, so we're going to come left, and then I will talk about where are your visual references when flying at night. So I want to hand fly this approach here. I'm going to go ahead and autopilot off. I'll leave the auto thrust on again just because I think it did a decent job. We're going to end up being configured early again, but that's fine. I want to practice the rudder, see what it needs. We'll maintain 2,000. Actually, we'll go ahead and set 3,000. Actually, no, we'll leave it at 2,000 because this is going to be a full stop. So that is on and looking good. Interesting why the auto thrust is not coming back. Interesting. Alright. Well, I will take over the auto thrust. Gear down. Should have been a flaps 2 before I turned base. We're going to be long, and we're going to be long on the final again, though, but that's what I want to do here. VFE next minus 10 flaps 3. Speed brakes arm. Keep it coming left. VFE next. Minus 10 flaps full. Maintain 2,000. Fully configured. Because I want to do what you guys said there in the chat, is to apply rudder on final to see how much I need. And let's get the flight control box up.
Speed.
Oh. Alright, so we're low, but we're going to get on the center line here, and then I'm going to move this rudder, see what I need. A little bit bigger. Alright, then we're going to talk visual references on a night landing too. How do you know where to flare? Are you flaring too much, too little? Alright, so we're pretty much centered. So let's see, if I move the rudder... Yeah, it seems a little bit better, but see, I don't know now if moving that... Getting rid of that curve, that tiny curve may have helped. We'll play it out, we'll see what happens here. Can I go auto thrust again? I just want to focus solely on the rudder. Are we not? I think I've confused the auto thrust. There we go. All right. Does flare law engage in any approach as an ILS, even though approach is even though it isn't enunciated on the FMA? Correct. Flare mode or flare law, or I guess flare mode will enunciate as long as you are not. Now this is a question I brought up with Phantom, but I'm pretty positive that the flare mode will always activate regardless of what's happening. Now, you can get in trouble if you're in altitude hold mode with the auto thrust on and your flight director's on. You can definitely get in trouble in that situation. You don't want to do that. Again, flight directors, if you're going to fly them, that's fine. Keep them on. If you're not flying the flight director, you must shut them off because you can get into a bad situation. If this says altitude here or climb, if you're in any other mode that's not landing and you're trying to land, you need to turn those flight directors off because you can get yourself in a situation where the thrust may be increasing when you want it to decrease, and you can end up fast on approach. You could blow a circle to land. All kinds of things can happen. So make sure if you're following the flight directors, that's fine. If you're not, to turn them off. Now, visual references here on a night landing. I'm not, what I will do here is shut my door real quick. And let's talk quickly about a reference to land. So as I'm approaching the runway here and I'm looking out the window, I'm going to be looking outside. I'm going to be looking at the pappies. And then I'm going to be coming in here and I'm going to be looking at my speed. And I'll be looking at my glide slope here a little bit. Now, I'm probably going to turn this off, but I think in the tool list, if you turn the LS push button off, you start getting jip whiz issues. I will try it again here. We'll see if if they fix that bug or not. But I'm going to be looking outside and inside. That's just my eye pattern. Outside, inside. Look at my speed, look at my altitude, look at my center line, back outside. As I get closer and closer to the runway, I am going to start looking mostly at the runway. And when I look at the runway, I'm going to look at it in two different parts. I'm going to look at my touchdown zone. So my eyes are going to be here, and then I'm going to be here. And I'm going to judge my flare by looking at the far end of the runway. And when we get down closer to the ground, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. But my eye pattern on a night landing visual is looking at my touchdown zone, looking at my instruments. Back outside of my touchdown zone, check the pappies, back at your instruments. As I get closer, that eye pattern is going to change, and we'll talk about that here as we fly this approach. So let's recenter it up. Let's get the sim moving. Daniel says, is it just me or is DFW one of the best designed airports operational-wise? I love it, Daniel, but I'm partial because it's my home airport. So, all right. So I got distracted there. Let's go ahead and get that nose down. Now I always say, give me the bird because the bird helps me get a nice 3-degree flight path. If I put the tail of the flight path marker on the horizon line, that's 3 degrees. So I'm going to catch up to it here. I definitely got high there. We're still above 1,000 feet, so I can take advantage of that. I can go above 1,000 feet per minute here. Take advantage of it. And here comes 1,000 feet AGL, so now I got to watch that VSI. As you see, it turns amber, so now let's come out of that. There we go. We're 2 whites, 2 reds. Let's go ahead and get right back on the slope if we can. Let's try to get that center line centered up here. So we're a little bit non-coincident there. You can see we're half dot high, but we're showing 2 whites on the pappies. All right, so right now my eye pattern is still outside, inside, touchdown zone, inside, touchdown zone, inside. There we go. All right, let's lock it in now. Don't let that slope run away. A little more left aileron. Nice crab here.
300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard. 10. 5.
Spoilers. Reverse green. $70 knots. 61 feet over the threshold, a little bit high there. I saw that 3 white pop in. 7 feet from centerline. Let's look at that. I feel like that was a significant amount of rudder that felt abnormal to me. That felt abnormal. Let's take a look at the replay mode here. And let's go ahead and back it up. It almost felt like I was flying on a rail system there, and I'll explain that. But let's talk about our visual references. So you can see here coming in over the threshold, I am going to be a tad bit high. But when I talk about visual references in Flight Sim and how do I know when to flare and where to flare? So at this point, right now, my eyes are going to be touchdown zone. I am not aiming for this whole white stripe. I am aiming for a specific set of lights on the touchdown zone. Aim small, miss small. If you take something away from the stream, I want you to take this away. If you aim small, you will miss small. Don't just look at this whole touchdown zone and try to land in it. Pick a spot in that touchdown zone and land on it. Right here, I was picking right about here because I could see the blue taxiway lights. It's like, that's a nice reference for me instead of trying to look at it exactly. It gets kind of weird, especially in X-Plane. But pick a spot. So I'm aiming to touch down right about here. As I get closer and closer, my eyes are going to go from here to the far end of the runway. I'm now doing this transit. I'm going near end, far end, near end, far end. And as I get close, what I'm looking at is I'm judging my sync rate. I'm judging my sync rate solely by my peripheral vision looking at the far end of the runway. This is why I don't like the butter program, because the butter program works off of this vertical speed here. When you're flaring a real airplane, the last thing you look at is this vertical speed indicator. You want to have visual reference outside to the far end of the runway, and they're using your peripheral to judge that sync rate feeling. And in real life, it's much easier to do than in X-Plane. I will say that. In real life, you have full peripheral vision. You can field of view is normal. In X-Plane, it's a little bit harder to mimic that, but I encourage you guys to try it, especially if you're going through training right now, private pilot or something like that. So right now, my eyes, probably at this point, I'm at 30 feet, right? So at this point, I am pretty much done looking in here. I am looking here and out here, out here, and I glance one more time when I go through 30 feet to make sure I am still on ref and I'm not, flaring high and going way below my ref speed on touchdown. So let's watch this play out from the cockpit.
Retard.
Look at that rudder. I have almost half deflection and the nose is still not responding the way I want it to.
10.
So, I mean, I have a significant aileron deflection, significant rudder, and my nose is still not straight. This is still a side-loaded landing here. You can see the longitudinal axis of the aircraft is not straight. So, Phantom says, it always feels like I need way more rudder than in real life, and I could not agree more with that statement. And I think that's kind of what's plaguing the Airbus crosswind landing feel here in X-Plane. I don't know if this is an X-Plane thing or something that can be tweaked by flight modeling, but I feel like I'm using excessive rudder, and I'm still not getting that nose to turn. So in slow motion here, I mean, we did have the nice, 3-point. I had that wing low into the wind. I had one touchdown, then the right main, so that was good. And I mean, I'm still trying to get the rudder. I'm like, I don't know how much more rudder I need. And finally she starts to respond, and then it just comes back to the left. And I think that's been talked about before. I think that's a X-Plane ground physics thing. Well, let's watch in real time from the runway here. Let's see how we did. That was pretty hard. That was pretty ugly there. I mean, but that's, I don't know. We're going to have to just see. We'll just have to see how it does in the 320 and 321. We'll see if there's any difference. Coming in over the threshold, I want to watch this aileron correction over here. My eyes are out here now. I'm looking out here, trying to get the center line. So actually, right? So at this point, look at my aileron deflection. I am almost full left aileron into the wind, and I'm not getting any lateral movement of the aircraft. So not only am I not longitudinally aligned, but you could see the wheel trucks are not center on the center line. So I don't know. But for X-Plane purposes, trying to learn and do the best with what we have, you're looking outside at this point here. You're looking at the end of the runway and their peripheral vision to judge that flare. Nice, a little bit better on the flare there. I'm up at least 5 degrees. That's good. That's a pretty normal touchdown. And we get a touchdown. We get spoilers. We get the IAE mod reversing. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Beautiful. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to reconfigure in the 321. I know it's going to be a lot faster now. I don't have to talk. You guys hopefully have picked up on the visual references for night landing, and we've talked about day landing patterns. So now we're just going to get in the 321 and we're going to crank them out. Boom, boom, boom. I got to find the right one because I do have the newest TOLUS. Is this the 1.04? Yeah, 1.03, 1.04, I believe is the one that I want to use. And let's use the IAE Airbus paint, and we'll go back to daytime, and we'll clear out the wind. And I have a saved configuration, so we don't have to do any startup. It's just going to be real quick. We're going to get right into it. We'll talk about 321 differences on this one here. Wait, cancel. Oh, man. I wanted to make sure I didn't do that. Let's come back here. High def. And IAE prototype. And I want to be on the runway, not on the gate. So we're going to start from 17 center. There we go. Here we go. Carter says, the problem I have with watching the horizon is I just don't know what I'm looking for to know when to flare. So, Carter, you're... In X-Plane, this is harder to grasp as it sounds, especially depends on your field of view setting too. So you're judging when I say look at the far end of the runway, I'm looking literally at the terminating bars on the other end of the runway, and I'm using the peripheral out my sides to judge that sync rate. You can see all the lights coming up next to you. So when you feel the lights coming up from your peripheral, in real life, I can probably see, I don't know, out maybe about this far when I'm looking straight ahead. So I can see the lights all around getting closer and closer. That's how you judge your sync rate as you're coming into land. You're not looking at the VSI. Now, I understand there are limitations within the simulator, and we have to use, you use our VSI, try to get butters and things like that, and that's within the sim limitations. But I'm trying to tell you in real life anyway, your best bet is going to be looking at the outside visual references. So let's go ahead and load the situation. I have 321 landing practice. We'll load that. We'll let the airplane do its thing here. Can I do flight factor 320 set so we can see the difference? Dimitri, we're going to do the flight factor 320 next after the 321. So let's go ahead and close up the doors. We're just going to go over just a few 321 differences. So, of course, the biggest thing in the 321 is going to be tail strike avoidance, right? So 7.5 degrees is our pitch limitation for the 321. We call that unemployment attitude. Compressed stress, I think it's a little bit higher. It's actually up around 9 degrees. But our company limitation is 7.5 degrees pitch up attitude, whether you're rotating for takeoff or you're coming in to land. Now, the 321 is going to come in naturally a little bit flatter on the horizon. That's due to its flap configuration. We have a double slotted Fowler flap here. On the 319, you don't have this extra slot. So our pitch attitude on approach should be right about 1 degree, maybe 2 degrees above the horizon. You're going to come in naturally flatter. Gordon, thank you so much for joining the channel, man. Welcome. Exclamation point, welcome. For more information on your new perks, thank you for joining the channel, dude. So because you're coming in flatter, even though you have that 7.5 degree pitch limitation, you still feel relatively safe because as you begin to flare, you're only at 1 or 2 degrees nose up. You're not coming in at 3-4 degrees nose up as you would in a 320 or 319. All right. So we are configured. We are ready to go. We know our traffic pattern. We're doing just a visual takeoff. Our APU just spooled down. And let's go ahead and fire away here. Release the parking brake. Did I check the tie downs before my check ride? Absolutely, man. Tell you what, though, one time, funny story about tie downs, I'll tell you real quick here before we go, is when I was flying freight, there was it wasn't like a pilot shortage situation as we've been accustomed to now. Well, in the immediate now, it's not really a pilot shortage anymore, but when I was flying freight, there was an excess of pilots, right? So if you messed up just a little bit, you're probably getting the axe. You're probably done. So one of the biggest things was not taxiing over cones. And flying freight, you have to put cones all the way around the airplane, make sure nobody goes inside the safe zone, sterile zone. My first flight in the Beechcraft, after passing my check ride, my first time ever by myself, 3 o'clock in the morning, start up, taxi out, and I feel like I just went over a speed bump. And I don't know how I didn't hit the cones with my engines. I did not hit them with the engines. I ended up running over 2 separate cones. I ran over one cone with my main gear, and I ran over another cone with the nose gear. And somehow I did not hit either of them with the props. And whew, I tell you, that's one thing that I just got lucky on, for sure. So kind of similar to tie downs. I did try to start at one time with the plugs in. That's never good. Don't do that. All right, we're in a 321. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Let me get my pitch attitude and make sure the wind is neutral because we're doing neutral wind, right? Yes, no wind. All right, let's go. Spool them up 50%. These are IAE sounds default now, so you'll hear the difference definitely. Nose forward on the stick. Oh, hold up. Oh, wait. Abort, 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 abort. Takeoff config, check, cabin crew called, and we do have V speeds, right? What are we? We are flexing 39. Okay. I'm trying to keep this. I saw all that stuff there. I want to make sure we're trying to stay semi-realistic here. Here we go. 50%, 1.05 EPR. Let's take a look at that. That's one thing I wanted to check. So before, wow, look at that. That's pretty good. 1.05 EPR. We're right about 48% N1. I'll buy that. Nose forward, let's go. Waiting for 2 clicks. Man flex, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. We talked about the runway being there because we have an ILS tuned to this departure runway. Sammy Sal, thank you for the sponsor, man. Appreciate it. Welcome. Neutral by 100. V1, Rotate, nice smooth rotation. Positive rate. Gear up to the command bars. Spoilers disarmed. Not BSS. We can agree on that. And I still don't know why marker always has to be on. Alright, let's set 3000. Auto thrust off. Give me the bird. 2 for 3 in the left turn. We're looking for 180 knots, 3,000 feet. Visual pattern here. We'll go ahead and activate the secondary. That's our 1.7 center. LS push buttons on. And we have the FO run a checklist for me as well. So 500 feet to level off. Here we go. Captain Tom coming in with the vacuum emoji. Definitely. Unfortunately. Yep. And our strobe lights are off. Way to check the ECAM there before takeoff. I need bleach for my ears. Oh, dude. I will say this too, having that a quality sound pack like the BSS pack, not only does it sound good, but it helps with being able to just know where your engines are. So when I'm flying around here with manual thrust, when I have the IAE sound pack from Comrade, I can just kind of move my thrust levers and hear where they are, and I can get a good gist of what my power setting is, whereas when I'm in the default sounds, I'm unsure of where I'm at, so I'm catching myself looking over at my EPers much more with the default sounds than I am with Comrade. So we're level here, let's go flaps 2. I do love the the no clipping of the flaps here on the 321, just really nicely modeled. Got to give it to him for that. Phantom says, you know, V1, I could run those checklists for you. Dude, have you got multi-crew? So, Phantom, let me ask you this since I got you on stream, and I know I said I would hit you up over the weekend. I'm just so freaking busy. Do you have multi-crew working, like yourself? Have you tested it? Because if you do, then we can definitely set something up. I think that would be really fun to do a two-crew, multi-crew environment. That way you guys can see how the dance goes between a captain and first officer running the airplane. Man, I do love the Airbus. Look, I'm hands off, completely trimmed out. Pain and suffering. All right, enough pain and suffering. We are flaps 2, geared down, speed coming back. Let's go ahead and do just a nice visual landing. I'm going to hand fly this one all the way in. Flaps 3, begin that descent. I'm going to be a little bit high on this one, I can tell you, so I'm going to extend out just a little bit more here. Let me go wings level for a second because I got to talking and went past our touchdown zone, so we'll extend it out just a tad. And let's go ahead and start our turn in now.
Subscribe.
Thank you for the subscribe, man. Appreciate it. Jack. What do you find today? A Dyson 320? Yeah. Unfortunately, my friend, you can get spoiled with the BSS pack. You definitely can. Alright, there's flaps 3. We're at 160 knots. What is our ref speed, actually? I should probably look at that. I should also activate approach phase. 146 is our ref. Just a nice visual pattern here coming around. So right here is a situation where you can get in trouble. And I'm going to just do a quick pause so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm getting ready to be almost on slope. Now, you're not really supposed to be referencing this right now, doing a visual pattern, and we're off from the center line, so it could be off a little bit. But what you do not want to do is end up getting low on approach profile with idle thrust. If you descend below your normal approach profile and you've got the thrust back, like I'm trying to decelerate here, you can end up having a significant loss in airspeed and altitude trying to get those engines back up. So you saw that when we did those go-rounds when I was on the runway for 2 or 3 seconds and I went full Toga, and it took a while for those engines to spool up, right? So that's something you really want to be careful of when you're flying these visual approaches in here, and if you're doing manual thrust. Be monitoring that airspeed and be monitoring your profile. Not only do you want to be on profile for sake of having a good stable approach, you want to be on profile for sake of not getting too slow and too low and ending up stuffing one in the dirt. So let's go ahead and continue here. So I'm not going to quite configure the flaps full yet. Add a little thrust there, so I don't want to get low. So you see I'm not at idle thrust. I don't want to be at idle thrust here. I've got about 65% N1 here in the turn. I'm going to go ahead and go flaps full now because I'm going to keep that descent rolling.
1,000.
Spoilers arm, cabin check. Phantom, will you run that landing checklist, please? Cabin crew advised, auto thrust off. ECAM memo, landing all green. Landing check is complete. Rolling out, we got 2 whites, 2 reds. Let me see if I can turn this off. There we go. We'll turn the LS push button off. No cheating. 2 whites, 2 reds. No wind, no excuses. This we're going to take into a bulked landing, so I'm going to immediately go into a go-around right as we get ready to touch down. Right after touchdown, I'm going to go right into go-around. I'm going to see about that pitch-up moment. So 2 whites, 2 reds. Get that speed back. We're 500 stable. Ref +3. Look at our pitch attitude. Much better. We're only sitting about 1 degree, 2 degrees pitch. That is accurate and modeled very nicely. Getting a little bit low there. There's our how are we getting glide slope warning? We don't even have it on. Dropped a little bit low over the threshold there.
100.
There we go. There's our 2 whites.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
Go around. Go around flaps. Flaps 3, Toga, and pause. All right, so 63 feet over the threshold. I'd like to be plus or minus 10 feet. So either it's 60 feet, 40 feet. That's kind of that window. The best, of course, is being in that right at that 50 zone. So a tad high over the threshold. 1 foot from center line, not bad. Let's look at the replay there. Let's go outside. Our touchdown pitch attitude, pretty good. That's pretty good. Not very flat. You don't want to be flat here on the 321. You do want to flare it. Let's back it up a little bit here. And we shall see how we did. So we definitely rolled out much better. We were on center line there. We fixed that from our 319 landing. Nice steady flare. Boom. What was our speed on touchdown? Just a tad below ref. Well, actually, this isn't representative because we're going around, huh? Or is it? Let's see.
10, 5.
Touchdown just about 2 or 3 knots below ref. Right on the zone, just where we landed last time, guys. Now, I would tell you if it was a coincidence, but it's really not. I'm aiming for this marker here. Remember on the 319, we touched down on the second one. 321, we're touching down on the second one. We're seeing a trend here. The 320, we're going to try to do the same exact thing. Aim here, 500 plus another 500 in the zone. Decent pitch attitude on center line. I will take that. Let's go for our go-around phase now. So I will toggle replay mode off. We already retracted the flaps 1 step. Hit it. So watching that SRS climb. So you could see this is a situation where you could tail strike. 7.5 degrees pitch limitation. Look at my PLI, the red tail strike indicator coming down there at 10 degrees. My SRS is way up here, so you got to be careful you don't over-rotate this, especially adding full Toga thrust here in the go-around. You will have a pitch-up moment, so you want to be extra careful of a tail strike when you do one of these bulk landing go-arounds. Positive rate, gear up. You can see the tail strike indicator goes away. Now I can go all the way to the SRS command. 15 degrees, 2 engines operative. This one's taking me way high. Alt star. I'm going to come back to MCT. Not going to go quite to climb just yet. 2 for 3. We're going to just go ahead and let her level. Actually, I don't like what the speed's doing. Flight director's off. I'm going to take over myself. Auto thrust off. Leveling 3,000, give me the bird. And we'll begin turning around for our second attempt here. There's our F speed, flaps coming to 1. A little bit of a sink there when retracting the flaps. That's normal. You would think that because it's fly-by-wire, you're not going to get any pitch change when you manipulate the flaps. That's not necessarily true. It is still a fluid situation. You still get a little bit of that pitch change, even though we are completely fly-by-wire. All right, we'll roll it out here. We'll rebuild the automation. When you rebuild your automation, start from the outsides, go in. So flight directors, autopilots, auto thrusts. So there's 3,000. Let's center the donut on the horizon line. That'll be level. And there's our flap retraction. That's pretty good. I was going a little bit fast there. All right, let's go flight director, autopilot. I want to come back to 180 though. All right, so speed alt track. Let's go heading mode. There we go. Speed alt heading. Come left about 000. I hate that. It's one thing I hate about the Airbus. And we approach VFE next, -10, we'll go flaps 2, we'll get the wind in there, and we will configure for a crosswind. Alright, Edward, what is SRS? This is one of the questions that a lot of you guys ask. So SRS,
Subscriber.
really it's not going to be much of a factor for you guys in Explain. Edward, thank you for the subscribe, man, but I'm going to do my best to answer this question for you. So speed reference system in the Airbus. Essentially what it will do, it's going to give you a target to pitch the aircraft to meet the required speed requirements and performance requirements. Now, let me talk through this before you make judgments. So, if you're taking off with SRS mode and you rotate, it's going to put a indicator at V2 plus 10. Now, if you have an engine failure in SRS mode, it'll put the pitch of the airplane at the speed of failure not to be less than V2. And the reason for that being is, if you guys remember, it was the Sioux City air crash, was the MD-11, blasted off, they lost the engine. I don't know if it was Sioux City? I don't know, forgive me if it wasn't Sioux City. But essentially what happened, the airplane began to roll, right? Because they lost slats on the leading edge, and they lost the engine on the left wing. So what the flight crew did is they were trained at the time. They reduced speed to V2, which is they reduce speed to their single engine climb out speed. As they reduced speed to the single engine climb out speed, the airplane's roll became uncontrollable and it rolled them into the ground and killed everybody. Now what happened was, if they would have kept going fast, even though the slats were retracted on that left wing, if you're going faster, you have more air going over the wing, so you can produce more lift and you'd be able to control the airplane. That's what they did. They were taking off, they had speed, they lost an engine, it began to roll, they continued to accelerate, the roll stopped, they had control of the aircraft, but they need to climb, right? So what they were trained at the time, slow to your single engine climb out. As they reduced speed to their single engine climb out, the airplane began to roll again because you don't have enough wind to create lift. So the roll ended up taking over, and that's how the airplane crashed. So since then, they train differently now. You're going to be not to be less than V2 or less than your single engine climb out speed. So the SRS will take that into account. It takes into account a V2 plus 10, 2 engines operating. It'll take into account a V2 engine failure. It'll keep you at your current speed or greater. It will not make you come back down, so you don't end up having a repeat of that process. And it can do a couple of things. I had some more notes here, but I feel like it's kind of it's one of those things where if we talk about SRS a lot and explain it, you're not really going to get anything from it, because other than just follow it and explain, That's really what you need to do. There's a lot of subsystem logic that can go into how SRS is computed and all that stuff. I'm going to just kind of skip that for you. But I hope it at least gives you an idea of what the SRS command does. It's a pitch command that tells you where to put the nose of the aircraft to achieve performance and climb gradients, in so many words. AAL 191 DC-10 at O'Hare. Thank you, Captain Tom. Chicago. Yes, Sioux City was when they did the differential thrust. Correct. I apologize. You're right, Captain Tom. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and throw the wind in there, and we're going to make our turn inbound. If you want to know more about SRS, I can pull it. I actually have it handy here because I knew we were going to talk about it. You guys, for some reason, love that question. So we're going to do the same thing, 18 knots. Wind out of the east, 087 degrees. Flight changes. All right. Thanks for the answer, Edward. You got it, man. I hope that answers the question a little bit. It's essentially, yeah, it's a pitch command that will help you get the proper speeds. All right, we're going to go ahead and descend to 2,000 intentionally. We're going to come left to 270, so we're going to end up being level on the approach, fully configured again, but I'm doing that intentionally so we can see the crab angle and things like that. But remember, when you're flying at your home sims, try not to be fully configured in level flight. All right, come back around to Jiffy.
2,000.
Let's see how the 321 does. We'll do fly heading 210, intercept the localizer. All right, so we got Loc Blue. Gordon Bergstrom, 100 Swedish Kronen. Thank you so much for the support, man. He says, best explanation for the Airbus. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for your support on the channel, Gordon. I hope I am answering your guys' questions and you guys will leave this stream as better Airbus pilots in our desktop simulators. Yeah, Sahil A, basically SRS will guarantee a minimum climb performance up to an altitude so as not to hit anything. Correct. That's you can use that answer too. All right, so we've got an 18-knot crosswind from the left, daytime. Cabin signs are on. Notify the cabin crew. Loc Star we have captured, and we are going to start our turn inbound. Now I had the actual definition for you guys out of the book. For some reason I can't find it right now. For SRS, which bothers me because I had it set up specifically for that question. Here we go. So, from the book. Speed reference commands to pitch to maintain takeoff phase, 2 engines, V2 plus 10. Takeoff phase with 1 engine inoperative, speed existing at the time of failure but no lower than V2. Or in a go-around, when you follow the SRS commands, it will pitch for speed existing at the time of go-around but not lower than VAP. So when I initiate those go-arounds, when we're doing these go-arounds, it's going to pitch for the speed that we're doing when we initiate the go-around, but it will not be lower than VAP. So that's kind of your by-the-book answer. And it will allow speed to decrease at a minimum climb gradient of 120 feet per minute climb. Jump and Run says, I love the useless information like the SRS info you just gave. I hope so, man. Do the pros give nose forward input right after the flare? Not really, man. And you kind of want to... If you overflare, then yeah, but you never really want to push forward on the side stick. What you're trying to accomplish here, as we need to slow up. What you're trying to accomplish is... As I can't even... Oh. What, did we not have it activated? We did not have it activated. There we go. That's why you always activate confirm before managing speed. VFU next minus 10 flaps 3. We'll let the airplane come down and configure. You don't want to push forward on the side stick if you can help it. What you can do is minimize your back pressure. So instead of pushing forward, if you just release that back pressure that you have on the side stick, you will accomplish what you need to accomplish. If you have to push forward, you're in a situation that you should not be in. That may require a go-around. Great explanation. Thank you, man. All right, let's go ahead and go everything off here. Autopilot off, flight directors off. We'll leave the auto thrust on for this approach. Give me the bird. 1,000 stable. We've got 3,000 feet set for the go-around. Oh, flight control page. We'll pop that up as well. So this first approach, I'm going to put in the inputs that I feel would be significant in a real-life touchdown, and we'll see what the airplane does, and then on the night landing, we will try to correct it. Mostly, you simply don't keep pulling back like in GA aircraft. Phoenix, yeah, you set that pitch attitude, and you kind of just hold it there, release a little forward pressure if you need to. Wow, we just got... That's why you don't read in chat. Okay, I'm going to go against SOPs. This will be a go-around right here. This is a go-around right here. Unstable go-around, but we're in X-plane, so we're going to milk that one. All right, there we go. 2 reds, 2 whites on the slope, a little bit high. I'm going to just put in what I feel is adequate pressures for centerline touchdown. We'll see how the airplane responds.
100.
Wow, we got a nice
50,
crab going on
40,
there.
30, 20, retard. 10. 5.
Poof! 165. Look at that. At least we hit the height above threshold there. 49 feet, 15 feet from center line. All right, so let's take a look at that one. That felt like we were doing something wrong. Let's go ahead and back it up. I thought we were going to crunch that one. Let's watch it come in over the numbers as we play it. When you reduce to idle, when it says retard, man. I don't know if we got a gust. I don't think I have any gusts added, but I feel like significantly started to drift more as we came over. We'll watch it in real time play out. Left, right. This... Alright, so this, I feel like, was decent. I mean, there's our rudder deflection. Our nose is not moving. I've got my ailerons out. Let's look at the flight control page here. We'll watch this in slow motion. So aileron increasing. I have half aileron deflection. Maybe I see it. I'm using just what I think I would need there to move the nose. Let's watch it a little bit more. Let's watch it come over the threshold here in slow-mo. I'm coming over the threshold. Got the ailerons out, are looking good. So that's what I think I would really be using rudder-wise.
10. 5.
And we were side-loaded. So it was, while it was a good touchdown by X-plane standards, the aircraft's position is not centered on the runway. So that's no good. Where did we touch down at, though? Let's see. Where was the tire smoke? Were we long? I didn't think we were long. Should be on the second one. Nope. There we go again. First mark. There we go. Boom. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. Aim small, miss small. I'm aiming small, and I'm missing small. We've pretty much always been on this stripe repetitively, but that does not look good. All right, let's go into the go-around phase here. Toggle replay mode off. Unpause. Go-around flaps. One step. We got our SRS commands. Man Toga, SRS, go-around track. Watch that pitch limitation there. 7.5 degrees. Positive rate. Gear up. Alright, let's go ahead and kill the automation. Auto thrust can come off. Give me the bird, we'll level 3,000. And we'll make a turn to the left, we'll do a night landing. And this one I will try, now that I've put in the pressures that I think I should have needed, to what I will do what I need to get the airplane straight. We'll see if the 321 acts any different. Anderson says, hey V1, is this decrab procedure Airbus focused only? Yes and no. I mean, you can apply the same general procedures. Any airplane that you decrab, it's aerodynamics, right? So as you apply opposite rudder, you're going to accelerate the upwind wing. When you accelerate that upwind wing, you're going to generate more lift, and you're going to want it to generate a roll. So to counter the roll, you got to do left aileron, right rudder, in this example where we have a crosswind from the left. Now, it would be opposite if you had a crosswind from the right. It would be right aileron with left rudder. Alright, so we'll just, since we're pretty much here, we'll call it 2,000 feet. We'll descend back down to 2,000. Let's reactivate the approach phase. And let's descend down to 2,000 feet. We are flaps 2. You see that crosswind, that ground track's pushing me close to the runway. Don't want to do that. The simulator you're using tomorrow, how does it compare to X-Plane with regards to graphics and sounds? X-Plane is better, man. Sound-wise, it's about on par with BSS, minus we don't have any cabin sounds or anything like that, right? We don't have any passengers talking or mock flight attendants talking. So there's our touchdown +3. We're pretty much there. Let's go gear down and start to turn in. But yeah, as far as graphics goes, the runway and airports are pretty nicely modeled. But as far as terrain goes, yeah, X-Plane is better. They have some, we do a lot of Vegas practice just because of the terrain and high density altitude stuff there. The Vegas area looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. Joe Blow, coming with a $5 donation. Man, thank you so much. He says, thanks for all you do for the flight sim community. Best to you and your family. Joe, thank you so much, man, for your support. If I could do positive rates in chat, I would be spamming them for you. But thank you for your support on the channel, man. And I almost crashed us as we came out of that turn. But thank you for your support, dude. Alright, so on this landing, we know how the decrab works. We know where our visual references are. What I'm going to try to do is just straight up overshoot the runway and then... Oh boy, I got to talking. So what I'm going to do here, let's do this. Let's turn LS push buttons off. We're going to land on 17 center. Sidestep 17 center. Since you overshot and made the American go around, you're clear to land 17 right. Alright, clear to land 17 right. We apologize for making American go around. And here we go. Alright, so we're going to try to make this one work. I'm going to try to put in whatever requirements I need. Arm the spoilers. Flaps full. We're high. See, pattern work, man. Good thing I don't have to stream my actual landing checks, because you get distracted, and in the pattern you can get in a bad situation in a hurry. Alright, there we go. 2 whites, 2 reds. On speed, a little high again.
Line slow.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
Maybe that was better. Spoilers. Reverse green, and I've got a lot of rudder trying to get the nose back to the right. Decel. $70 knots. Reverser sounds pretty good, actually. So, just hit the outer limit there. 60 feet over the threshold. 171 on the touchdown. Let's take a look at that one. I feel like That one ended up better, but it just does not feel natural. Let's see. Only the replay will tell. Bank angle. All right, so after we overshot the runway, we'll watch it come in over the top here. Nice crab there, pretty good. We'll watch it play out in real time. Whew. So that was like almost a full deflection. Let's see what happened in here. Let's play this out.
50, 40.
So let's play this out, see what's happening to our flight controls. So look at that. There's another full deflection of the ailerons. Let's back it up. So I got to see this happen here. We're coming in
50, 50.
50 feet over the threshold. Our crab still looks good.
30.
Now this is when I begin to decrab. Here comes my rudder input.
Retard.
There's my aileron input. I'm trying to decrab the airplane. Almost full, that's full aileron deflection to the left. More rudder, and we just got the nose over. So the nose started to move right here. That's almost half deflection on the rudder. Yeah, I would have to we're going to have to see what the 320 does. I mean, we do straighten out, but it took almost a 3/4 deflection of the rudder. We ended up touching down pretty much on centerline. So we're on centerline, but look, the airplane is still side-loaded. Still side-loaded. All right, play it out, and we're going to finish up with the 320, see how that responds. Wojtek CYVR, he says, I will watch this again and again. I wish I could appreciate your work more with a $10 donation. Wojtek, thank you, man. I really appreciate your support on the channel, dude. It means a lot to me. I'm glad you're enjoying the content, dude. I love doing these videos for you. This one's fun. I've never done one like this. Thank you for hanging in there with me, guys. I appreciate it. And thank you again, Wojtek, for your support. So let's finish up, guys, now with the 320. We're going to start a new flight. And this is, I'm save the 320 till last because the 320 is the aircraft that I will be flying in my sim. So in the sim, you can emulate any airplane you want, but in general, when you just go in for landing practice, they're just going to give you a base 320, and that's how it's going to work out. So clear weather, and 17 center, confirmed. This, we've had enough practice, now it's time to put it to work. All right, we got to load up the airplane here. I wish I was more interactive with the questions in chat, guys. I'm trying to sneak out and get the questions I can. So I apologize if I've been missing a lot. What lighting mod, Carl? It was the TK light mod. Let's see. Anthony Murphy, he says, hey, Cap, first time catching a live stream. Love the channel and the vids. Hope all is well. How long are you streaming for? Anthony, we're going to finish up now with the 320, so not too much longer, man. Probably about another... I don't know, as fast as we can bang out these 3 landings. Flying Guitar says, don't pilots have to have autoland currency, or am I mistaken? Do you guys ever practice autoland? Yes, we do practice autoland as part of the thing. And airplanes actually require, I want to say, I'm not a maintenance guy, but I feel like every airframe has to do at least an autoland every 30 days. I could be wrong. I'm not saying that as fact, but I feel like that sounds right. So you will end up doing, sometimes if you're on that flight where that airplane hasn't done a landing yet, or autoland yet, that you will end up doing one. So, waiting for stable aircraft position.
Subscriber ahead. Look.
Thank you for the subscribe, man. Can't read your name out, but appreciate it. Why are we... Oh, I had to unpause. There we go. We'll let it load in for a second. Gordon says, this is worth every second. Gordon, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Giuliani says, thanks for the lessons again today, Cap. I think I might skip the rest of the flight. Good luck on your currency check tomorrow. I'll be watching the replay later today for sure. Giuliani, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Get out of here, dude. Another Gene says, this is great. I love your videos. Amazingly helpful. Thank you, man. Alrighty, so we are loading in. Beautiful A320 IAE mod. I don't have a save state because it gets a little bit weird, so we're just going to do a non-by the book. We're just going to get this thing fired up here as fast as I can. And this is not procedure or anything here that I'm doing. I just want to get this up here for you guys. Navlight can come on. Nav control, come on. 2 and 3. Oh, we got an announcement going on? Oh, I never heard this. This is the new BSS 320 pack. What's your opinion on the flight factor 320 compared to the Tolless? Gordon, you're about to find out firsthand, man. We're going to see how this airplane behaves in the same exact conditions. Alright, so while that's doing its thing there, fuel low pressure light, that's interesting. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Yeah, I know. Remember we had the fault? Clear all. There we go. Remember I deferred the APU before? That is why. We should get fired up now. Alright, quick initialization page here. We're just gonna I'm just gonna type it in. DFW. Flight number 5. This doesn't really matter. IRS and it. We want to get that aligned. Departure 17 center. Let's just say we're on the fork 2. And the arrival doesn't really matter. I'm just going to say 13 right. But we're going to activate the secondary, which is going to be DFW. Secondary flight plan. I'll load in the ILS 17 center. Secondary perf. Approach altimeter 29.92. Temperature 14. Winds are 040. 762 for the MDA in the secondary. That looks good. And we need to do our init B. We should be pretty much loaded. How much gas is that? That's too much gas. 9.5. 0 fuel weight CG. Ooh, that might be too heavy. That might be too heavy. Let's come back out here. Service, fuel. Let's drop that fuel down. Let's set the 6.5. 6.5. There we go. That brings our takeoff weight to 64.5. Let me do a quick conversion here. 64,500 kilos to pounds is 142,198. So we're just below max landing weight of 145,505. So that should work. We'll set that, remove the fuel truck, and that looks good to me. Clear that out. Clear out. 3 minutes, that's going to be aligned. APU bleed can come on. Turn that off. We'll turn the beacon light on. Finish for the alignment to finish. Going up 3,000 feet, and we beat the alignment, so we got another minute here or so till we fire up.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
I thought it was an Airbus thing to help with decrabbing. Not necessarily, but you will all airplanes are gonna you're gonna want to decrab them the same way. The aerodynamics are the same. If V2 is not inserted, mode reversion to vertical speed should take place at 100 feet. Would be fun to see if it's implemented. Interesting. I doubt it. What's the difference between choosing a loc-specific approach on the McDo and just pressing the loc button on the FCU? So, what you load in the box is different. Let me rephrase that. what is happening up here is what the airplane is going to do. It doesn't matter what you load in the box. You could load the RNAV to 3.5 center, but if you are in loc mode or something, this is what you're going to be flying. But you obviously want them to match up. So I don't know if I understand your question there. If you put the loc in the box and then just press the loc button on the FCU, you will only capture what is tuned. So if you have, so this is can be kind of an interesting topic. Let's say you put the localizer 17 left, but you want to land 17 right. If you hit the localizer push button over here, it's going to capture what you programmed in the box. So that's where you got to be careful. You always want to make sure whatever you put in the box is what you want to do, because when you arm the loc or the approach, it's going to fly what you have in the box. Also, that's how you avoid landing at the wrong airfield. Even if it's a visual day, put in an approach. It's actually required in our manuals that state if you're doing a visual approach and there is an instrument approach procedure to that runway, you must load it up so you have some sort of reference just to make sure you're doing the right thing. It's happened before. Just ask Southwest Airlines, man. Stuart Aslett, 4 pounds. Thank you so much, man, for the appreciation. It says, coffee on me, sir. Thanks for your time and effort. Dude, appreciate it, man. I'm definitely going to grab a coffee here after this. Captain Geo, what's going on, man? Good to see you here, dude. All right, Iris in a line. We're pretty much ready to go. Let's get rid of ground power. And then we can go perf. We're going to do 135, 136. Flaps 1. We'll do a flex of 50. Just so I get used to putting the thrust levers in the flex detent. I mean, we do so much Toga here for the last 2 months. I don't want to go back into sim and just throw it into Toga. Looks like we got some type of announcements going on back here. I got the actual boarding announcements and everything. Dun, dun, dun. Remove your package from the vest like this. Alright, let's fire them up. 38 PSI, that looks good to me. Crank it. Evening, Steve B. What's going on, man? Welcome. We are just wrapping up here with the 320 landing performance checks. I'm liking these sounds. Liking these sounds. Because great is what we're going for. Alright, that looks good to me. Let's go ahead and just go right into it. Fire up engine 2. The Driver 83. Thank you so much, man, for your €10 donation. Appreciate it. He says, amazing how professional you handle the Airbus, and your explanations are absolutely amazing. Man, I can really feel how much you love to teach and fly. Thank you very much, V1. The Driver, thank you for your support on the channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you, man. Thank you for your kind words as well. I do love to teach. I will be the first to tell you that I don't know everything about the Airbus, man. There's things that I still don't know or things that I don't remember. I'll misspeak on certain things, and I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. I do try to be as accurate as I can. Thank you very much again, Driver. I appreciate it. Captain Geo! Coming in with a $3 bomb. Thank you so much, dude. He says, and a bottle of Corona on me. Captain Geo, I'll raise you a bottle. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a 6-pack after this, man. Thank you so much for your support, dude. I appreciate it. All right, we got 2 engines loaded. Let's get the flaps out. Let's get the transponder on. And TARA mode doesn't really matter. That come off. We're not doing this by procedure. We're just taking off here, so let's get everything. Gosh, I hate that. All right, everything else is on. Everything looks good. Auto brakes max. Takeoff config. Cabin check. PWS, it does not work on this airplane. All right, finally, we are ready to go. Visual pattern in the Airbus A320, take number 1. Brakes released. Notes forward on the stick. Spool them up 50%. Here we go. Man flex, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. Oh boy, I was trying to read the chat. Neutral by 100. V1. Rotate 3 degrees per second, nice and smooth. A little fast there. Positive rate, gear up. Well, we're nabbing. Starting to get a frame rate issue there. I wonder if my PC is beginning to melt after all these landings and replays. Good stress test here. Alright, let's go ahead and turn off. Oh, I don't have them bound on this one. Flight directors. Auto thrust can come off. Oh, I don't have it bound. That's not how you disconnect the auto thrust. Don't do that. See, I got an ECAM mill right there. Don't press the auto thrust push button on the FCU. That's a no. Track heading, track FPA, give me the bird. Here we go, 2.5 climbing 3,000 in the left turn. This bird looks a little bit more representative of the real thing. A little thinner lines on the bird. Jeremy, what's up, man? Says, do you also need to do another full check ride with an oral exam? No, Jeremy, no. I'm not doing a full check ride. I'm not doing any oral. It's just a currency check. All right, let's go ahead and activate. Let's activate secondary. Activate the secondary. Activate approach phase. Using cost index 0, that's fine for me. 2.7, climbing 3,000. 180 knots. Is it worth getting the 319 only for the BSS pack? Smooth flying? Whew, that new BSS pack that I just listened to earlier in this stream, it's pretty darn good, man. Do you already have the 320? If you already have the 320, I might say yes, just because I personally, man, I like the 319. I like that little rocket bird. It's small, it's nimble. Got the BSS pack. The all the texture mods come standard with the airplane now, so you get the Totemach texture mods is now the standard texture. I'm getting a really bad frame drop every time I look at the airport. That's not good. That's weird. My frames just tank when I look at the airport now. Alright, beam our touchdown zone. Begin counting. Leaving X minus 10 flaps 2. We're going to keep all the automation off for this one. Down we go. We'll leave 3,000 set. Will you get a grade for your landing checks? Yes. Pass or fail. There's the altitude alerter. Check. 3,000 set for go round. VFE X minus 10 flaps 3. Here we go in the turn. I think we're going to be coming down pretty good on this one. We'll go straight to flaps full. VREF 140 knots. VAP. Let's see when that picks up the glide slope. This is correct here, not having a glide slope indication this far off from the center line. Man, I don't know why my frames are tanking. Oh, there's the glide slope. That's pretty good. So that's something Tolas might need to check, because I don't remember now. I'm pretty sure their glide slope was on the whole way around, and we overshot again, guys. Oh, you know what? Do we have the wind blowing? Overshot that one. That's a big no-no right there. Call that fatigue. I'm going to chalk that one up to fatigue.
$500. $400. $300. 100 above. 200. Minimum.
Alright, we're looking
100.
at one red there, a little high probably over the threshold on this one.
50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. Retard 5.
$63 feet over the threshold, 8 from center line, 200 feet per minute. We don't really care about that. Let's take a look at that approach and landing. I definitely drifted off there towards the end. I think the blame and fatigue on that one. Let's look at the replay. Let's see where we touched down here. So unlike the first approach where we undercut the turn, we definitely overshot. Does the grid get a butter stamp on it? Not quite, man. God, I love that sound. Almost felt like we had a crosswind. Why am I crabbing? There should be no wind. Hold on. There should be no wind right now. Interesting. We are crabbing for some reason. Why is the airplane... I don't know. That's weird. Where did we touch down? Let's look at our flare and touchdown here. Coming in over the 1,000 footers. Hold that, and we're down. So I missed my mark finally. We were pretty much every single one, but this one is even a little bit safer in the touchdown zone. Nice pitch attitude there on touchdown. That's what you want to see. Well within the touchdown zone. I don't understand what happened there. If anything, the airplane should be the other direction because we have a 3-knot wind from the right. We'll have to look at that a little bit later, but that was pretty good. I will take that. That is definitely acceptable in my book. Toggle replay mode comes off. We're going to go right into the go-around mode here. So unpause, go around flaps. Flaps to 3. Follow those SRS commands. Positive rate, gear up. There's F speed, flaps 1. Oh, speed brake should be disarmed. Oh, why is this speed? That was weird. Speed brake was out. Alright, we'll take it. Autopilot 1. 3,000. I'm going to go ahead and select heading. Let's start the turn. We're going to go MCT. There's our positive trend in airspeed. We'll come all the way back to thrust climb speed. We're going to select speed 180 knots. Left turn all the way around. Yeah, the display there said a crosswind from the right, which is interesting because the airplane was crabbing to the left as if we had a crosswind from the left. I'm not quite sure what that was all about. But let's go ahead and throw in the actual crosswind now. We're going to keep everything the same because we're trying to see the difference here. We got that in there, and 18 knots. I'll just do this. 18 knots from 087 degrees. Perfect. Done. Apply changes. Let's go ahead and get our approach phase reactivated. Activated, confirmed. 17 center. Wind is 087. This is one thing I haven't been doing, but it really won't make a difference. We're 087 at 18. It doesn't even change anything there, as it shouldn't. All right, so we're 3,000. 180 knots, flaps 1, we'll go flaps 2. We'll take a look. Mr. Dillon, what's going on, man? Mr. Dillon, no, it's basically just to get me kind of back in the procedural type situation. I have to go into the simulator tomorrow for landing currency just because I haven't flown in so long, so I'm just trying to get a head start on it. I thought I'd take you guys along, plus we can compare all 3 Airbuses in their landing phase
2,500.
During stream here live. So we're taking off. We're doing 1 normal landing, which we did. We're doing a crosswind landing now, and then we're going to do a crosswind landing at night, and that will be it. I was going to do an RTO, but I am burnt out, guys. So we will wrap up with the night crosswind landing here after this one. So you can see here the airplane is establishing a nice crab. There's our heading of 005, and the airplane's actually tracking pretty much right on 360. So we got a 5-degree crab. I'm going to go ahead and just come down to 2,000 so we don't have to go out as far. Thrust idle, open descent, down we go. I wonder if it's still going to give me a frame drop when I look at Dallas. Salim, what's up, man? It says, how much difference between the sim, which you're training on, and the real plane? There's a significant amount of difference, I would say. The spoilers were out as they deployed on landing. It was visible in the replay. Yes, but the spoiler handle should not go to full. The spoiler handle was in the full position. So in real life, when you land, the spoiler's handle doesn't move. When you arm them, they will deploy, and they will also deploy if you don't arm them when you go to reverse thrust. But when I looked out at the speed brake handle was full out, so I don't know what happened there. But even with the speed brake handle full out and the thrust lever angle up at that high and go around thrust, the speed brakes are retracted. What happens if you fail the exam? Anderson, it's not really an exam, I would say, because it's kind of just a currency, because we're falling out of currency. A lot of pilots are. But man, if you fail, then I don't... you'd probably have to do it again. Or you would end up being placed on dequalified status, which then you wouldn't get paid, wouldn't be eligible. I have elected to return to the line on July 1st, so that is good. I mean, I could have taken another month of leave, but I need to get back in an airplane, man. So July 1st, I will be returning to the line. All right, let's go ahead and start our turn inbound. Cabin ready, check. LS push buttons are on. And that might have been a little bit aggressive. Let's make it 290, 295. We got to turn inside a jiffy here and still capture this LS push button. Universe, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream, dude. We are wrapping it up here. We're going to see how this one, I'm actually really curious how we're going to overshoot, but let's see. We're definitely going to overshoot. This bad vectoring me. I need Phantom on that one there to vector me around. I'm curious on this one to see what the difference is here. I'm going to put the flight control page up intentionally, like we did with the tolless aircraft, and I want to see what the deal is. So like last time, this first approach, I am going to only input the correction that I feel is a realistic correction and what I really need. And then the second approach, I will attempt to make it straight, and we'll see what the difference is. So bad vectoring there on my part with Fifi, but we're 140 knots now. Level flight fully configured. Again, avoid that if at all possible. I just want to see the airplane configured here in a crab, see how she handles. Steve B says, best wishes for tomorrow. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Mars Aviation. What's up, man? All right, so same wind as the tolless birds. Little sip of tea for good luck. And let's disconnect. Oh, I don't have my disconnect push button bound in this airplane. Uh-oh. Alright, so flight director's off. Give me the bird. Get the flight control page up. There we go. Alright, so we're going to leave the speed, auto thrust. We're going to hand fly her down. There's our altitude alert. Check, going below 2,000. 2,000 set for go around. Landing checklist, chem crew advised, auto thrust speed. ECAM memo, landing all green. Landing checklist complete. It's probably not all green yet, is it? How about landing gear?
1,000.
That might help. Wow, you can definitely tell I'm getting tired now. I caught myself. See, I just read a checklist from memory. I didn't look. That's complacency. But then I verified it, and we almost gear up an airplane on stream. Alright, so pretty comparative crab angle there to the toeless birds. That looks good.
$500. 400. 300. 100 above.
I like to come in high on this. I don't know why.
200.
Just milking that second red
Minimum.
there. Alright, glide slope will run away from us here as we go below
100.
minimums.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard.
Subscriber
Retard
ahead.
fire.
Look up.
Spoilers. Yeah, drifted off centerline there. Interesting. Alright. Let's take a look at that one. Missed that threshold window by about 2 feet again. But let's back it up. Let's see how that touchdown was. I'm not concerned about after touchdown. My initial instinct was that this felt a little bit more natural. Let's see how it handled here. We'll watch it in real time. Letting it go, letting it go. Now the decrab procedure. Yeah, that was pretty shite. Let's see what happened. Let's analyze this a little bit closer here. So, let's see what happened there. Coming in, looking good. Here comes the decrab. There's the rudder moving. Rudder begins to move. It's a shame we can't see any of this. Rudder is moving. Nose is moving. Left aileron to keep that wing down. That's a significant amount of rudder, and we're still not really moving. And you know what? If anything, we got the right touching down. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know. That looks like a lot of rudder. It sucks that we can't see the flight control movement here. So the only thing that we have is the visual of the rudder itself. Yeah, we're gonna chalk that one up to me getting tired. I don't know what to tell you that one. It honestly, it felt better. It felt like it was more responsive, but then watching the replay, it did not look very good. So let's go ahead and go into that go around. We'll do our last landing here. Go around flaps, toga thrust, flaps up 1 step to 3 degrees. Get back on center line before you rotate. Following the SRS now. Up she comes. Positive rate. Gear up. Why is my nose wanting to go right? There we go. Should want to go left. Interesting. Again with the speed brake. Alright, let's rebuild the automation. Autopilot 1, auto flight directors are on. I'm going to pull heading. I'm going to select speed 180, flaps 1. Begin the left turn. And we're doing a night shot. I'm probably going to lose GPS primary here. Is one of the trim tabs out of position? It really... No, I don't think so. Commander Jannar says the word shite is one we use in Scotland a lot. Yeah, it's not really profanity, I don't think, right? That one was just... I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that landing, so we're going to just try this one. We're going to try to end on a good one here. I will say, though, my initial instinct was I felt that the flight factor reacted better, but then I see it's like almost overreact, like it was an overcorrection. I touched down on the right main first, which in that situation definitely should not have. This is the Aerosoft Dallas-Fort Worth, Bitkeeper. In a decrab maneuver, you push the rudder only once or continuous pressure. Continuously apply pressure. Yes, you want to have a nice, smooth, continuous pressure. And even after touchdown, in the real airplane, you keep that rudder in there because you want to keep flying the airplane all the way below 60 knots. I fly it until I'm off the runway. Just because the mains touch down doesn't mean you just let go of everything. Alright, here we go. Activate approach, activate confirm. Last one, 2,000 feet, 180 on the speed. We'll go flaps 2. Love nighttime here in DFW. Got to love it. I like this view right here. Phantom says, I'm pretty sure it's X-Plane. They're just running to Christian. It says, when I fly the Zebo, it still feels wrong. I haven't tried the Zebo. I'm beginning to think it might be. I think it might just be a combination of X-Plane physics with ground effect, and I don't know, man. I wish I had a better answer for you guys. Other than it just feeling a little bit wrong. What I will say, though, guys, is after I go to the sim tomorrow, I will either do an after dark stream tomorrow night if I'm not too tired, or maybe I'll just record a quick video, and that way when it's the freshest in my mind, right? Because I'm going to go into the sim and I'm going to do it for real. I'm going to come right back home and I'm going to jump on X-Plane and I'm going to do the same thing, and I want to see. I'll be able to tell you guys the difference because I still feel kind of skewed. I don't really know. I haven't been so long since I've been in the airplane. So after tomorrow, if I'm not too tired, I might do a little late after dark stream, just a short one to show you guys exactly what we did and how I feel the airplane responded. Or I'll just do a quick video and edit it and upload it for you guys. The thing... This flight factor on that approach, it felt like, even though the inputs may not have been what I thought they would be, I felt the airplane was a continuous fluid motion, where in the TOLUS, I felt like I had to kind of derail the flight model, right? So like it's stuck in this mode, and until I go past a certain level of rudder input or aileron input, then the airplane all of a sudden reacts. That was my initial instinct, but I take that with a grain of salt, please. Right, I'm not gonna vector in too close again like last time. Phantom, when do I need a vector here? Do I go straight 90 degrees or do I just spin it all the way around? I'm gonna go a little bit further. I need an air traffic controller. I didn't do this on VATSIM because I didn't want to piss off the controller. They're like, why are you doing touch and goes in an Airbus, Dallas-Fort Worth? Selb says it's definitely an X-Plane thing, as Flight Deck to Sim complains about crosswinds regularly in X-Plane. Okay, well, that makes me feel a little bit better, makes me feel a little bit more validated. I'm not saying I am the pro pilot here by any means, guys. Like, I'm just trying to give you what I feel and what I see happening on the screen. You know, I'm not mavericking all these. These are all not 10 for 10. There's definitely a lot of user error as well. I'm trying to do my best, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't. A little exhausted now on this approach, but we're going to do it. We're going to get this one. It's going to be the best one here. We're going to come all the way around. I'm going to go approach mode. AP2 is armed. We are activated and confirmed. We're flaps 2, 180 knots. Let's spin it around. One thing that is correct is we do not have a glide slope indication here on the downwind this far out. Whereas I believe in the Toga we had that glide slope indication even out here when we were turning base. So this is more correct. Looks like she captured the loc already. That's nice. Went into that auto capture mode there. Oh, look at that. Is that real life? Are you serious? Screenshot. That looks so good. Wow. All right, here we go. Last one. I'll pull up the flight control page. It's a bummer that we cannot see our inputs on replay, though, but at least we can rewind the stream a little bit and watch what happened. Clear Direct Fubar says, I flew on DFW VATSIM Saturday night. It was crazy busy. Had controllers from the center through every level of ground. That's awesome, man. All right. I'm going to just go ahead and disconnect that. We're going to leave the auto thrust on like before. Put that up there. Flight director's coming off. Give me the bird. Last one. Let's get it. Oh, and I should go ahead and do that as well. Lower the gear this time. All right. Let's get that crab angle in there. Let's get the mouse off the screen. BFE next minus 10, flaps 3.
Don't sink.
What?
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
I'm
Don't
not.
sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Are you serious?
Don't sink. Don't sink.
I don't know what that is. I guess it does not want me to use auto thrust. All right. We'll do it without auto thrust. So,
1,000.
Tolus 1, flight factor 0 on that one. Let's get back on track here. Watch that speed there, getting a little low. See, that was I was talking about that idle thrust, getting a, even though we're high on profile, but I'll watch that speed. So now I'm... It's almost like it's less dramatic in the flight factor.
500.
500 stable.
400. 300. 100 above. 200.
I definitely feel like there's less crab in the
Minimum.
flight factor.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
All right, let's decrab.
Retard. 5.
.51 feet from center line. Oh, I'm sorry, 51 feet from threshold and 1 foot from center line. That felt pretty good to me, guys. 370 knots. That felt pretty good to me. 157 on the feet per minute. Let's take a look at that replay and call it, because that one felt pretty good. So we were on the money, 51 feet, aim for that 50-foot mark on center line. Let's see how she handled. Let's go outside. Let's play it back here so it doesn't crash. All right, let's watch it full speed over the threshold here. I guess we do have a little crab there. About the same as the toeless birds. Decrabbing, decrabbing. But the airplane just wants to go left? Interesting. Interesting. Alright, so let's watch this here again. We nailed the threshold. We nailed the center line. There's our decrab, so we're decrabbing. I don't know. We aim our touchdown mark. So there's our touchdown. Here's the marker. There it is. 1, 2 on it again. So we did 9 landings, and 8 out of 9 were all in the same exact spot. So that's what I talk about aim small, miss small. As far as the decrab goes, I don't know. That was a good X-plane landing, but it's still side-loaded. This is still a side-loaded aircraft here. So this nose should still be over a little bit more. So with that being shown right there, I think we can say fairly that it might just be an X-plane physics limitation. So, anyway, I do feel a little bit more prepared, ready for tomorrow. I am completely wiped after this. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I know it was a little bit different here, just doing a bunch of landings. Again, here we are, night landing, visual reference. Remember, aim small, miss small. If you take anything away from the stream, aim small, miss small. Eyes at the end of the runway now, judging for that flare. You're not looking inside. Right on the marker. As far as crosswinds go, I hope I've at least explained a little bit about how to handle the aircraft in a crosswind situation, even though it may not be exactly how the real aircraft responds, and we're going to have to tweak our approach to have really good landings in X-plane. But I hope you guys still enjoyed this stream. I had fun. I'll let you guys know what happens tomorrow. All my members in Discord, maybe I'll get some pictures out there for you as well. Mods, sponsors, donors, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you, mods, for regulating the chat, making sure everybody stays in line. I love seeing those IAE mods reverse. Alright, guys, until next time, I think the next time I see y'all, it's going to be the 10K sub celebration. It is going to be a very, very fun stream. I hope to see you all there. We're going to have giveaways. It's going to be great. We're going to be SIVA, VATSIM. It'll be fun. So until then, guys, I'm V1. See ya!